Chapter 21 Howren Breathing Skill. Fatty Wang. Household's Commander Lu and Householder Xiong turned back. Wang Ji had, unbeknownst to them, quietly walked up to Chen Sansi's side, his face wearing a friendly smile, and personally helped him up from the ground. This Wang. Household's Commander Lu pointed at the fat man's nose and scolded. You yourself said that you looked down on this kid's qualifications. Exactly. Householder Xiong echoed. I think you are the most shameless. You two brothers are mistaken. What does this have to do with qualifications? Wang Ji shook his head and said, I, Wang, have always valued loyalty and credibility. Since I have taken the silver, how could I not teach wholeheartedly? Very well, very well. Household's Commander Lu was so annoyed that his teeth itched, and he unconsciously pressed his hand on the hilt of his saber. Fat man, you also want to compete with me? Sansi, you better think it through. This fat man cherishes wealth as his life. I could teach you without charging a penny. Come with me. Without another word, Wang Ji grabbed Chen Sansi and ran. Within a few breaths, the two of them had disappeared. Fat man, I will never again be your comrade. Householder Xiong and his companion could only curse as they watched the dust settle, helpless to do anything but leave. Chen Sansi was somewhat slow to react. From being ignored to being frantically sought after. It seemed that those who were against him behind the scenes did not have absolute status and power. Otherwise, they would not have given him a chance to turn things around. As for which household's commander to choose to teach him, did he have a choice? 100 Households Wang was very strong, nearly pulling his arm out of its socket. The two stopped only when they reached the entrance of the camp. 100 Households Wang released his hand. Little stone, come with me. The moment they entered the tent, Wang Ji suddenly turned around and pressed his hand on Chen's shoulder. Chen Sansi instinctively wanted to dodge, but that hand was like the five-finger mountain, inescapable, pressing heavily on his shoulder and causing intense pain in his bones. Only after feeling Chen's body extensively did Wang Ji nod in satisfaction. Ape arms and wasp waist, but most importantly, solid root bone, a truly good foundation. Ape arms and wasp waist. Chen Sansi nodded. In martial arts, talent is most important, followed by root bone. Wang Ji sat pompously in front of the desk and explained, There's no need for me to explain talent, right? As for root bone, those practicing martial arts must first withstand much torment, and their bones need to be solid. Moreover, various types of root bone also indicate different specializations. Like archers, for example, they generally need to be tall and have long arms to easily draw a full bow, hence your natural aptitude for archery. Ape arms and wasp waist, coupled with hard bones, count as excellent root bone. Chen Sansi nodded. Thank you, 100 Households Wang, for the instruction. You have grievances against me in your heart, right? Wang Ji's small eyes gleamed. You think I took the money and still didn't teach you? Chen Sansi candidly said. I dare not. Dare not doesn't mean you don't have them. All right, don't feel wronged. Household's Commander Lu and Householder Xiong can't give you this. As he spoke, Wang Ji pulled out a booklet from his robes and slammed it on the table. On the surface of the booklet were the familiar terms, Basic Spear Technique for Infantry. Seeing Chen's puzzled look, he pulled out another Basic Spear Technique for Infantry. Compare the two, see what differences these two books have. Chen Sansi did as told. Both booklets were complete Basic Spear Technique for Infantry, containing pile work, spear technique, and breathing skill. Through the text, he learned the importance of the breathing skill. Lacking the breathing skill, enduring more torment, and practicing slowly might also allow one to master the spear technique completely, but it would absolutely be impossible to condense chi blood. The content of the two booklets regarding pile work and spear technique was exactly the same. But the breathing skill had many different aspects. The first type of breathing skill primarily assisted. Pile work and spear technique were too harmful to the body, so a special breathing method was used as lubrication, reducing the pain of training while slightly increasing the speed of cultivation. The second type was called the Hao Ran breathing skill. This type of breathing skill didn't offer any protection during practice and wasn't faster than the first type, but it was said the cultivated chi blood would be better than that of the first type. As for how it was better, he did not know. Fatty Wong peeled peanuts, eating and explaining. The chi blood cultivated from the breathing skill I gave you will be more enduring, tenacious, and robust, just like me. As for the other breathing skill, although it's faster, it's neither durable nor resilient, just like Householder Xiong. I think you should understand what I mean? If not, it doesn't matter. Once you cultivate the chi blood, you'll naturally experience it firsthand. Chan Sansi pondered and asked, "Please enlighten me, 100 households Wong, why the same cultivation technique would have two different breathing skills. A castrated version." Fatty Wong said, "The Hao Ran breathing skill is better, but it's not for everyone. If the root bone is not strong enough, it might ruin the person, and if the talent is not sufficient, it will greatly slow down the progress. Moreover, this thing is very costly in terms of silver. It's generally only taught in the 8 camps. I have informed you of both options' pros and cons. It's up to you to decide which one to learn. A cultivation technique from the 8 camps?" Chun Sansi looked at Fatty, then at the cultivation technique. "Are you looking down on me?" Fatty Wong glared hard. "Don't look at me as just 100 households now. I was also once a man of the 8 camps. 100 households Wong, you're being too sensitive. I meant no such thing." Chun Sansi quickly made a decision. "I will practice the Hao Ran breathing skill." "Good lad. I knew I wasn't wrong about you." Wang Ji brushed off the crumbs from his hand and called a subordinate to bring in Mei Hua iron spear from outside, and started to teach him hands-on. Stack pile, hold the spear, breathe. Integrate the 3. Take a deep breath, however you hold your breath. Don't hold it directly in your lungs. Imagine, this breath is the power stored in your body. Use this power together with each move you make. That's not how you breathe, that's normal breathing. You think the Hao Ran skill is no different? You need to use this power to stimulate your acupoints. Yes, that's it. Hiss. With the breathing instructions from the secret manual and the explanations from 100 households Wong, Chun Sansi tried a few times and then mastered the correct way to use the Hao Ran breathing skill. Each of his moves was coordinated with qi, which transformed into power, stimulating his acupoints and bones even more. What was originally a dual overlay of pile work and spear technique suddenly became a triple overlay. The discomfort almost made Chun Sansi gag. At the same time, a panel appeared in front of him. Cultivation technique. Basic spear technique. Uninitiated. Progress. 8/100. Utility. None for now. Pant. After just a few seconds, Chun Sansi felt weakened and almost stumbled. "That's enough." Wang Ji called a halt. "Let's stop here for today. You learned the spear technique overnight. Even an ironclad body has its limits. You mustn't harm your body. Especially with food, you must eat at least 5 pounds of meat daily. Wild game is good, fierce beasts even better. Best if it's exotic beast meat. Once you get the basic spear technique to entry level, you'll be in the blood refining realm, truly becoming a martial artist. When the time comes, I'll help you find Lord Thousand Households. As for the matter with Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy, do you have any grudges with young Master Liang Zhan? Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy? It became clear to Chun Sansi, who then said, "I have absolutely no grudges with the Liang family." "Oh!" Wang Ji seemed surprised, stroking his chin, his eyes flashing with thoughts. Not sure what he was thinking. "I understand. You go and rest." Chapter 22 Bear Heart, Leopard's Courage. "Is it Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy?" Walking out of the tent, Chun Sansi recalled the conversation he just had. Since it was Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy playing tricks, it must be Qin Feng's doing. He could actually get the young master of Tianyuan to help him out, which shows they are not ordinary acquaintances. Could it be that he has received the true transmission? Additionally, the 100 household asked if he had any grudges with the Liang family. Was he preparing to help him? The speed of Wang Ji's attitude change took him by surprise, but upon further thought, it made sense. Most likely, he was of value to them. However, Chun Sansi remained calm about this and didn't feel it was hypocritical. The so-called human relationships are nothing more than a mutual back-scratching affair. Without kinship or friendship, where does genuine emotion come from? For this reason, Chun Sansi didn't fully count on Wang Ji to solve this problem for him. He still needed to focus on training and improving his own strength. He returned to the martial arts arena. After the previous ruckus, everyone now looked at him in disbelief. Sure too. How did you manage it? Full of admiration, Zhu Tong said, I just saw Song Yan's second uncle turn green with rage when he heard about it. Chun Sansi was speechless. This was yet another offense. But it didn't matter, he couldn't shrink back just because he was afraid of offending people. I'm going to head home for a bit. Chun Sansi didn't waste time chit-chatting and started to pack up his things to leave the camp. It was not cost-effective to always eat at the restaurant. It was best to buy meat and cook for himself. After he left, within a few hours, the feat of mastering spear techniques overnight without any breathing skill spread throughout the entire left army 1,000 households of Payang. Many of the new recruits who had the intention to compete for the selected point position psychologically collapsed and gave up, shifting their goals to becoming military soldiers. It wasn't until 2 days later that people began to practice spear techniques, one after another. The fastest among them was naturally Song Yan. On the third day, he finally learned the spear techniques with the aid of the breathing skill, but still felt defeated. Second uncle, I can't compare to Chun Sansi. In a double courtyard house, Song Yan said with his head down, his tone dejected. You have to compete even if you can't compare. Luo Dongquan said with annoyance. You still have a chance as long as you haven't cultivated chi blood yet. 2 servants carried trays into the courtyard. On the trays were steaming hot boiled meat and offal, with the most conspicuous item being a dark yellow, elongated organ slightly twisted in shape. This is a leopard's gallbladder. Luo Dongquan stated. Bear heart and leopard gallbladder count as great nourishing medicine. Starting today, you will eat one every day. It will not only nourish your body but will also help you accelerate the cultivation of chi blood. 1 leopard gallbladder costs 10 taels of silver, and that kid with the Chun surname can't afford it. Second uncle, he is a hunter, Song Yan stated, and I heard he's a very skilled hunter. Upon hearing this, Luo Dongquan couldn't help but laugh. A hunter? Do you think those hunters outside Payang County can't even afford to pay their taxes? The really valuable things on Tiger Head Mountain are all beyond the second layer mountain in the deep forests. Those game animals hardly ever come out, and the hunters also dare not venture in. Why not? Why not? Because they're poor, Luo Dongquan said gravely. Poor people just need to barely stay alive. That's all. It's not their turn to make money. It's that simple. That's why I'm trying my utmost to send you climbing upwards. Only if you climb high enough, can you bully others instead of being bullied. Second uncle, why do we have to bully others? Song Yan didn't understand. You fool, Luo Dongquan erupted. Just eat your leopard gallbladder. As for that fat man, squandering and extremely greedy for money, he definitely won't take out real gold and silver to support that Chin kid. Phew! After completing a set of spear techniques in combination with the breathing skill, Chun Sansi was covered in sweat and doused himself with a bucket of cold water. Cultivation technique. Basic spear technique for military soldiers, not entry-level. Progress. 38/100. Utility. None. Cultivating chi blood really isn't as simple as Zhu Tong said. He sat on a rock, catching his breath for quite some time. Chun Sansi had been training day and night for the past 2 days but only made progress to this extent, still some distance from truly being entry-level. Brother Sure, it's time to eat, Gu Xinlan called out. Coming. Chun Sansi sat at the table and grabbed an entire beef shank to nibble on. Gu Xinlan said sympathetically, You must be exhausted recently. It's okay. Chun Sansi inquired, Is our home running low on money? We still have 1 tael and 3 coins of silver. Gu Xinlan had every detail of the household memorized. We can hold on for a few more days. Martial arts training is really burning through money. Chun Sansi commented with some irony. Within just a few days, he had consumed all the stored silver in the house. Yet even so, his body still showed signs of a qi blood deficiency. It seems that the meat from ordinary livestock has limited effects. He must consume game to make a real difference. Chun Sansi declared, I'm going up the mountain this afternoon. Are you going with Uncle Zhao and the others to hunt black bears? Gu Xinlan asked anxiously. Be careful. Don't worry. Chun Sansi put down his chopsticks, and at the same time, someone knocked on the door. It was Zhao Qiao and the others. Zhao Qiao carried a basket full of fish. Wu De held a jar of honey, and another honest-looking young hunter led a dark gray slender dog. After introductions, he learned the man's name was Zhuang Yi. The four of them, familiar with the path, headed towards Second Layer Mountain. There's plenty to hunt south of Second Layer Mountain, but not much is valuable. Zhao Qiao said, including that black bear, it actually also comes from the north. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be our turn to take action. But that beast developed a taste for human flesh, and it's cunning too. It doesn't dare mess with those who practice martial arts, so every year around this time, it quietly runs to the south of the Second Layer Mountain, or the First Layer Mountain, to attack hunters who go up the mountain. Even beasts bully the common folk. Zhuang Yi said indignantly. We're here. Wu De pointed ahead. 3 donkeys and a few other hunters. It all happened around this area. They stopped in a relatively open and flat grassland, placed the bait they brought with them on the ground, and then hid in the distant woods, planning to rely on the autumn wind to spread the scent and attract the black bear. But after a long wait, they did not see any movement. Let me do it. Chun Sansi had not wanted to show them up before, but since this method wasn't working, it was better not to waste any more time. Tracking expertise, mastery. Progress, 350 to 500. Utility, insight shocking, light as a feather. It had been quite some time since he last went hunting in the mountains, and this was an excellent opportunity to improve his skills. With his piercing gaze, he soon found a piece of rotten fruit peel in the grass nearby, and then cylindrical feces wrapped with insects under a bush. For Chun Sansi, as long as he could lock down a general area, there were no traces he couldn't find. After he found the signs, the hunting dog followed over and discovered them too, barking excitedly as if it were in awe. To be admired by a dog. Wasn't that a bit odd? Hey, Brother Chin, you're really amazing. Zhuang Yi spoke honestly. You're even better than a dog. Do you even know how to talk? Wu De slapped him on the back of the head. Brother sure has real talent. Learn something. Chun Sansi gestured for silence and continued moving forward. After about 4 miles, they arrived at a valley with a small creek in the middle. Even from a distance, Chun Sansi could see many traces left by medium and large animals in the forest across the creek. Across there is North Mountain, Wu De said with emotion. Not only are there many large animals there, there's also a chance to encounter exotic beasts. One catch can make you rich. Unfortunately, we have to avoid the brocade-clothed, and don't dare to go over lightly. If we provoke disciples of the martial arts halls, we'll be in big trouble. Chun Sansi had long heard about this. What exactly does provoking mean? There's no standard. Zhuang Yi took over. It's just bad luck if they don't like the look of someone. But it's different for you, Brother Sure. Wu De said, if you could become a military officer in the future, you won't have to fear them. One step behind, forever behind. If he couldn't become a flag officer, he wouldn't even have the right to hunt, let alone. Not wasting any time, Chun Sansi continued towards the west, leading several people into a dense forest. After entering the area, traces of the black bear's life became noticeably clearer. There were claw marks on the tree trunks, footprints on the ground, and stones that had been turned over. Chun Sansi, on alert, kept his distance while searching for the black bear's figure. There's a tree hollow. Wu De pointed to the hollow of an ancient tree ahead. But it seems to be empty. As he said this, he was about to approach for a closer look. Watch out! Chun Sansi acutely sensed something was amiss and hastily stopped him. Behind you! Almost simultaneously, a massive figure emerged from the bushes and lunged at Wu Da's back with a scarred face. The beast had been waiting for a long time. After stepping into the dense forest, he hadn't heard any noise at all, so he dared not get too close. Wu Da and the others saw that the tree hollow was empty and thought the black bear had gone out to forage, relaxing their vigilance. They never imagined that the black bear, used to hunting humans, would now actively hunt them. No wonder the bait had been useless. Thud! This black bear was larger than its common kind, approximately 2.5 meters in length, weighing at least 700 to 800 pounds. A touch could hurt. Making contact would mean death. Wu Da didn't even have time to grab an arrow. His bow was smacked into 2 pieces, and he was about to be struck in the face by a thick bear paw. In the blink of an eye, a wolf-teeth arrow accurately pierced the black bear's left eye. Roar! A sharp roar echoed. Zhao Qiao and Zhuang Yi finally reacted, hastily shooting their arrows. However, because of their panic, the arrows from their 4-force bows didn't fully draw back and merely penetrated the skin, embedding in the fat of the black bear. They did not cause substantial damage, but it was enough to drive the black bear completely mad, causing it to furiously pounce towards them. Being too close, Zhao Qiao and Zhuang Yi didn't have time to fire a second arrow and had to turn and run. The hunting dog barked wildly at the side, unable to even get close. "Beast, come chase me!" Chun Sansi shouted as he released another arrow. Since the black bear had its back towards him, preventing a lethal hit, he could only shoot it in the tough back. Nonetheless, because the arrow was heavy, it still half buried itself into the bear. Roar! The enraged black bear swiftly changed its target, charging at the person whose attack caused it the most pain at incredible speed. It might look bulky, but it was astonishingly quick when it ran. The sight horrified Wu Da and the others. Run! But soon they could let go of their worries. Because Chun Sansi was even faster, his agility was like that of a monkey. Using the dense forest to dodge and weave, the black bear missed its attacks repeatedly. The blade of the wolf-teeth arrow continued to cut into its flesh and bone, with dark red blood soaking its fur. The bear's speed gradually slowed. After gaining some distance, Chun Sansi drew his bow and prepared another arrow. Whiz, whiz, whiz. One arrow followed another in rapid succession, hardly pausing. The explosive power required to continuously draw a heavy bow. What an outbreak of strength! Zhao Qiao and the others watched in amazement, but they didn't stay idle and assisted with their light bows from the side. Before long, the black bear was hit by numerous arrows, its movements growing sluggish. Once Chun Sansi confirmed he could finish off the beast without injury, he deliberately avoided hitting vital spots, leading it out of the dense forest. Taking advantage of its weakness, he picked up his plum blossom spear and charged forward. Such a perfect live target. How could he not make good use of it? Chapter 23. Blocking Arrows with Arrows. Seeing this, Zhao Qiao and Zhuang Yi quickly collected their arrows. Chun Sansi methodically initiated his pile work, coordinating with the breathing skill. He thrust the Meihua iron spear towards the black bear, using the force of its resistance to simulate a battle. It must be said, the strength of such fierce creatures like bears is astounding. Even with severe injuries, the power of its swipes exceeded 1,000 pounds, and its collisions even heavier, reaching several thousands of pounds. Though Chun Sansi's strength had significantly increased after practicing martial arts, direct contact still forced him to continuously retreat under the tremendous power. Furthermore, the consumption of physical strength by his spear technique caused him to quickly break out into a heavy sweat. However, at the same time, his proficiency was improving at an extremely fast rate. As one bloody hole after another appeared on its body, the bear's attacks became so sluggish that there was no need to even dodge them, clearly on the brink of death from excessive blood loss. It was only then that Chun Sansi delivered a spear thrust from the eyeball to the back of the skull, piercing through and ending its life. Boom! The heavy body fell to the ground, completely lifeless. Cultivation Technique. Basic Soldier Spear Technique. Entry-level. Progress. 47/100. Utility. None. In just a short while, the progress increased by nearly 10 points. The effectiveness was indeed very good. Unfortunately, such ideal live targets weren't always available. Sigh. Chun Sansi planted the iron spear into the ground, taking deep breaths to stabilize his physical condition. After a while, Wu De and the others came over, their eyes wide in disbelief. Even though the black bear was sluggish from excessive blood loss, it was definitely not an opponent just any ordinary person could contend with. Is this the difference between a martial artist and an ordinary person? Especially Zhao Qiao. He couldn't imagine that the boy who had approached him not long ago to join him in Gona Second Layer Mountain had become much stronger than any of them in just over half a month. Unkli Zhao, Wu De, said Chun Sansi. It would be great if you could chop some sturdy wood to make a stretcher. Let's carry the bear back together. Zhao Qiao and the others didn't move immediately, standing and looking at him, with an awkward expression on their faces. Little sure. At last, it was Zhao Qiao who spoke. Can we take half of the share? In cooperative hunting, the earned benefits naturally needed to be shared among the participants. But they were admittedly a bit useless. From the beginning, it had been Chun Sansi who found the black bear's habitat. Then, they had even been saved from a life-threatening situation. If it hadn't been for Chun Sansi being there today, the three of them might have ended up dead or severely injured. Conversely, even if they hadn't been there, given some more time, Chun Sansi could have worn the black bear down alive with his speed and heavy bow. But they had just paid their taxes and were so broke that they couldn't scrape 2 coins together. They had also spent quite a bit on bait for the trip, and to return empty-handed would be somewhat. Of course, if Chun Sansi really didn't agree, they could only accept it. Under the anxious gazes of everyone, the young man holding the spear in the sunset showed a brilliant smile. Uncle Zhao, what are you talking about? Half a share is too little, at least 2 portions per person, right? Ah! No. Zhao Qiao and the others almost thought they had heard wrong. They didn't deserve to take so much. They didn't even have the face to ask for it since he was willing to give. After much insistence, Zhao Qiao and Zhuang Yi firmly stuck to taking only half a share, whereas Wu De had thought about a whole share but, after getting a stern look from Zhao Qiao, also meekly agreed to half a share. Chun Sansi didn't press further. He knew they felt embarrassed. Getting more when you work more was only natural. Moreover, a 700-pound bear, including its expensive bear paws, could easily sell for 50 taels, so half a share amounted to more than 2 taels of silver. In usual times, this was equivalent to hunting 20 or so rabbits, so it wasn't like they had run around for nothing. Chun Sansi didn't feel pained about it. After all, before coming, he wasn't certain whether he could handle a black bear on his own. So for safety's sake, he had partnered with others. Having made such a choice, there was no point in regrets. It was just a matter of understanding his own strength, and in the future he could simply hunt alone if necessary. Brother Sure, from now on, you're like my real brother. Wu De smiled, his facial scar making him look ferocious. The group quickly cut sticks and tied them with ropes, carrying the massive black bear and heading home. As they passed by a small creek in the valley, the hunting dog began barking at the opposite bank. Woof, woof, woof. He fixed his gaze, noticing 2 young men in long robes, looking discontentedly at the black bear on their shoulders from afar. Chun Sansi recognized them immediately. It was these 2 who had tricked Shunzi into repairing the canal more than half a month before. After the incident, he had secretly gathered information about these 2. One was named Li Hao and the other Zhang Chao, both from Tailei Martial Arts Academy, but they were merely servant disciples, not even as qualified as the outer disciples. After years of training, they might not even have mastered the breathing skill or developed their chi blood. Unexpectedly, they would meet again. Woof, woof, woof. As if sensing the men's ill intentions, the hunting dog's barking grew louder. Little Blackie, stop barking. Zhuang Yi quickly rushed to cover the dog's mouth. Don't provoke them. What are you afraid of? We're not fighting them directly. Wu De had not finished speaking when one of the young men promptly drew his bow and released an arrow. Good beast, dare to bark at Grandpa? Although he claimed to be shooting at the dog, his arrow was clearly aimed at a person. A willow leaf arrow whistled straight towards Zhuang Yi. The two sides were only about 40 to 50 steps apart, and a 4-force bow was more than enough to kill a man easily. Zhuang Yi's pupils dilated as the arrow rapidly enlarged in his view. His legs went weak and his heart chilled. In the blink of an eye, another wolf-teeth arrow flew from the side, precisely and impeccably severing the willow leaf arrow mid-air, using an arrow to block another arrow. What? Zhang Chao's eyes nearly popped out. A moving target so small and in such a short time. How could that be? The military officer's second stone-heavy bow? Li Hao's face turned unpleasant. Is it you? They both had recognized Chen Sansi as well. How has this guy become a military man? Let's go. Li and Zhang exchanged a glance and fled in panic, not even leaving a chance for Chen Sansi to speak. Only when they had gotten far away did they shout a threat. You wait! A bunch of cowards. As for Chen Sansi now, he didn't need to fear them anymore. After all, these were men even Qin Feng wouldn't bother with. The whole process, from the other party shooting an arrow to being scared off by Chen Sansi, took just a few seconds. So much so that Wu De and the others took a long time to realize what had just happened. Brother Chen. Zhuang Yi's voice still trembled. You saved my life? He was at a loss for words, unsure how to express his gratitude. It's nothing, Chen Sansi said calmly. If I hadn't retaliated, their next arrow would have been aimed at me. Even servant disciples from the martial arts academy dared to bully like this. It seemed he had to vie for the position of military officer. With the status of a military officer for protection, the arrow he shot just now wouldn't have been to block the arrow but to take a life. Let's head down the mountain. After a close shave, the party, carrying the black bear, headed back home. The county was still under martial law, and it was not known where that barbarian was hiding since he hadn't been found yet. It was almost as Chen Sansi had calculated. The black bear totaled 51 taels. The rest each received a little over 2 taels and 5 maces of silver. Chen Sansi kept the bear heart valued at 20 taels, undoled, and also kept 30 pounds of bear meat. In the end, he pocketed 20 taels of snowflake silver. It should last for a while. Cradling the still warm bear heart wrapped in lotus leaves, Chen Sansi hurried home eagerly. The bear heart was a great tonic, particularly beneficial for his recent deficiency in qi blood. Chapter 24 Blood Refining. Chen Sansi and Zhao Qiao returned to Yanbian village together. Along the way, they were almost treated as heroes. After all, with the black bear dead, whether going up the mountain to hunt or gather herbs, it would be much safer. Some villagers wanted to send their children to him as apprentices. Others wanted to offer their daughters to him as concubines. A single bear equaled several dozen taels of silver, which in those days could buy the lives of many young girls of marriageable age. Chen Sansi naturally declined each offer politely. Even when he pushed open his door, 2 matchmakers coincidentally walked out of his house. How did all this come to my doorstep? Chen Sansi was speechless. You weren't injured, were you? Gu Xinlan, as always, checked the man's body to make sure he was unharmed before she breathed a sigh of relief. What do you think? What do you mean, what do I think? Chen Sansi was stunned for a moment before he realized she was referring to the matter of taking a concubine. He hurriedly shook his head. I need to focus on practicing martial arts. I don't have time for this. I figured as much, so I turned them down for you. Gu Xinlan helped him unload the bow and iron spear from his body and said softly, Brother Sure, whenever you want to find someone, just tell me, and I'll help you pick a good-looking one. Chen Sansi was somewhat surprised. It seemed that Sister Lan didn't care about this matter after all. Indeed, the mindset of ancient women was different. Sister Lan, please prepare this for me. Just boil it in plain water without adding salt. Chen Sansi hadn't forgotten the important matter at hand. He took out the nearly 4-pound bear heart, which felt potent with vigorous life force even through the lotus leaves. Keep this silver safe. Remember to replace anything that's lacking at home, and also manage this bear meat for me. I plan to take it to the garrison in a couple of days to share. Having a female master in the house meant that he almost didn't need to worry about anything. Gu Xinlan started a fire in the kitchen. Chun Sansi went outside to practice his spear technique. After several sets of spear movements, he was so hungry that he felt dizzy, and there was a clear sense of deficit within his body. Fortunately, the meal was soon ready. Bear meat, pork, rice, wild vegetable and egg soup, and most importantly, the hearty dish of bear heart. Chun Sansi picked up the bear heart and took a big bite directly. The taste of blood spread throughout his mouth, then rushed straight to the crown of his head, almost causing him to vomit. He covered his mouth and forcefully chewed and swallowed. Taste aside, the effects were genuinely good. As soon as the bear heart entered his stomach, Chun Sansi felt a warmth there, as if a small flame was burning. As his digestive system worked, the nutrients were quickly absorbed by his body, replenishing the deficit caused by practicing martial arts. He couldn't be fussy about the taste and stuffed more pieces of bear heart meat into his mouth. After consuming a third of the bear heart, Chun Sansi felt as if he were on fire. He hurriedly ate some other foods to fill his stomach, then rushed outside to continue practicing. The bear heart was indeed a great supplement. He practiced until it was dark and did not feel the deficit anymore. If it wasn't for the need to rest his muscles, he would have considered practicing all night long. Cultivation technique. Military basic spear technique. Not initiated. Progress. 67 out of 100. Utility. None. Efficacy skyrocketed. With 2/3 of the bear heart remaining, producing his first thread of chi blood was just a matter of a couple of days. After putting away his spear and returning to the house, the great supplement effects of the bear heart were still active. Chun Sansi felt full of energy. Under the warm yellow candlelight, Gu Xinlan was rushing to finish sewing clothes. Since she no longer had to labor outside, her skin had become even more fair, and her fingers were no longer swollen. From afar, she appeared as if carved out of white jade. To save silver, Gu Xinlan did not buy ready-made clothes, but instead bought various fabrics to make them herself. Chun Sansi quietly walked up behind her, and suddenly, he whispered in her ear, "Wife, put on the red one. I'll wait for you in the room." Ah! Gu Xinlan hadn't heard his footsteps and was startled into trembling. She patted her chest, then her eyes drifted towards the fabric on the table. Red. Her face flushed deeply. It was a half-finished red belly band. Chun Sansi stayed at home for 2 days. On the third day, thinking it was about time, he packed up his belongings and headed towards the garrison. Cloth armor and a red hat, carrying a bow and spear, full of style. The villagers frequently cast their glances. "Brother Sher is about to become an official," one said. "Yes, I have a relative who serves in the garrison too. I heard Brother Sher is doing quite well. PSH. I don't think his fancy days will last long. Uncle Lai Zi, you really can't speak anything good. Believe it or not, whatever." Uncle Lai Zi raised his voice loud enough to ensure Brother Sher heard him. "Uncle Lai Zi." Chun Sansi approached. "Do you have something to say to me again? You're quite sharp, lad." Uncle Lai Zi leaned closer. "Guess what I saw recently? These past few days, I've been seeing Qin Xiong's brother frequently inviting a fat official from the military camp to drinks. Guess what he's planning?" "The fat official?" "Wang Ji." Chun Sansi speculated. "Qin Feng has been frequently hosting Wang Ji recently?" He wasn't too worried. Wang Ji had known long ago that he had issues with the people from Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy. If he intended to harm him, why would he bother to teach how ran the breathing skill? Moreover, accepting invitations doesn't mean he agrees to help with affairs. He had experienced this firsthand. It looked likely that Qin Feng would waste his silver for nothing. Of course, Chun Sansi still needed to be cautious in case the other party became desperate. He had specifically inquired about it these past few days. He learned that half a month ago, Qin Feng had suddenly transformed from an external disciple to a true inheritor, but since becoming a true inheritor, he had only recently mastered blood refining. Chun Sansi was only a step away from entering blood cultivation. When the time came, he might be able to battle it out. The experience of hunting black bear had taught him that having a bit of extra strength wasn't that remarkable. With this in mind, he felt full of motivation. At the entrance to the military camp, he encountered Wang Ji returning on horseback. Even from a distance, he could smell the thick scent of alcohol on him. Catch! He tossed him a flask. Inside is dear blood wine. This flask alone costs 3 taels of silver, but it's worth it. I bought it especially for you. Who says I, Wang Ji, am stingy and treasure money as if it were my life? Don't listen to old Lu and the others spouting nonsense. Stick with me, and you won't miss out on benefits. You also strive for it, and try to cultivate your first strand of chi blood within 10 days. Thank you, 100 households Wang. Chun Sansi bowed with his hands clasped. I have reached a bottleneck practicing my spear technique and was wondering if I might receive some guidance from you to prevent any deviations? Bottleneck? What bottleneck in the introductory period? Wait a minute. Wang Ji sobered up a bit. You're about to start blood cultivation? At the martial arts arena. Chun Sansi swallowed the last piece of bear heart and gulped down a few more mouthfuls of dear blood wine, feeling an intense heat throughout his body, with chi power almost overflowing. He seized the moment to pick up his plum blossom spear and practiced the basic military spear skills. Pile work, spear technique, breathing skill. With the triple reinforcement, Chun Sansi's body entered a fully loaded state. Coupled with the supplement of meat and wine, his spear moves became faster and faster, not feeling the slightest fatigue or depletion. His heart was beating wildly, as if something was about to burst forth from within. Is this chi blood? He wondered. Chun Sansi knew this was the crucial moment for cultivating chi blood, so he dared not stop, continuously increasing the power of each move, exhaustingly extracting every last bit of physical strength and pushing his heart to the limit, until his arms went numb and veins bulged all over his body. He let out a loud shout, gathering his last breath, and thrust the spear into a large stone at the edge of the martial arts arena. At last, a unique stream of hot blood flowed from his heart. Cultivation technique. Basic military spear skill. Entry-level. Progress. 0/500. Utility. Swift gun movement. Amazing endurance. Chapter 25 Wang Ji. Blood refining introduction. Chun Sansi exhaled a turbid breath. The so-called blood cultivation introduction. It is the cultivation of a strand of special chi blood within the body. Those who practice martial arts are able to mobilize this strand of chi blood to enhance the power of their attacks. The stronger the chi blood, the longer the peak combat performance can be maintained. Just as Householder Xiong had said, only after reaching the blood-refining realm could one understand the importance of chi blood quality. This was just the beginning, and in the future, the gap between ordinary breathing skill and vast breathing skill would only grow wider. Stab me! Wang Ji's shout came from beside his ear. I told you to thrust your spear at me. Chun Sansi did not understand why, but he didn't hesitate either. He picked up the Mei Hua iron spear, channeled his chi blood through his right arm, and stabbed towards the face of Lord Thousand Households. Clang! Fatty Wang struck with the sheath of his knife, confirming the strength was correct. Did you really cultivate chi blood? How long had it been? At most, only 6 days. Those who could cultivate chi blood within a month were regarded as having boundless potential. What did it mean to succeed in 6 days? What's more terrifying is that he cultivated using the vast breathing skill. It's true that the vast breathing skill is stronger, but it also means that cultivating chi blood through this method is much more difficult. Yet he only took 6 days. What kind of talent was this? After his shock, Wang Ji tried to control his facial expression. You did quite well for being so nonchalant, kid. Nonchalant my ass. Hearing the commotion, Household's Commander Lu and Householder Xiong also came to see and were astounded by the scene. To cultivate chi blood in 6 days, even in the 8 camps, that would be considered top-notch talent, right? What had they missed out on? This young man might soon join the 8 camps, and if he got heavily relied upon, he could rise rapidly to become a sealed border governor or even a top-ranking official. By then, Even if they received a bit of favor based on the past incense offerings, they could also ascend to heaven along with him. Although this was only a possibility, letting this opportunity slip through their fingers was infuriating enough. Old Xiong, Household's Commander Lu rubbed his knife handle. Let's take care of him another day, shall we? No need for another day. Householder Xiong grabbed an axe from the rack. Let's do it today. The martial arts arena quickly became lively. When everybody learned that while some were still practicing pile work, Chun Sansi had already cultivated chi blood, they were all stunned. Luo Dongquan was also drawn by the noisy voices, his face ashen. His good-for-nothing nephew would need at least 7 more days to cultivate chi blood, which was twice as slow. Get lost. I'm not in the mood to play with you all. Without paying attention to the 200 households, Wang Ji led the young man into the tent. He first poured himself a bowl of wine and drank it, then said, Today, Household's Commander Xiong went to the county city. Once he's back, I'll report this. The selected point qualification rightfully belongs to you. Thank you, 100 households Wang. Chun Sansi did not dare to take this seemingly avaricious fat man lightly. This guy might not look much, but his strength was extraordinary. That previous thrust, he had put in all his effort, yet the opponent had effortlessly blocked it with just the sheath of his knife. With such a huge gap in strength, one truly couldn't underestimate any military officer. You are now officially a martial master. Wang Ji asked, What weapon do you plan to primarily train with from now on? Chun Sansi had not considered this question before. Fatty Wang explained the army camp system. During new soldier training, short spears are uniformly issued. After the assessment is over, military soldiers can choose the weapon they like or are skilled with, while array soldiers can only be assigned based on the needs of their unit. But don't think the basic spear technique of the soldiers is poor. This set of spear techniques was created by the most valiant general under great ancestor Shang, and if it were in Jianghu, it would definitely be treasured by the average sect as a family heirloom. The reason it's used to train new soldiers is precisely because it's not easy to learn, and it can test a person's talent and potential. After testing, of course, you can change to what you prefer. Chun Sansi voiced his doubt. Won't changing weapons affect martial arts progress? You've only just started, and haven't deeply specialized. It's quite easy to switch. Wang Ji said, Moreover, there's a saying, staff takes a month, saber takes a year, and a lifetime is needed for the spear. The treasure sword is hidden on one's person. Without a doubt, the spear is the hardest to learn, followed by the sword. With your talent, if you followed me to learn the blade, your cultivation speed would be even faster. How about it? Want to consider it? Chun Sansi understood the principle that a weapon's length added to its strength. In the future on the battlefield, long weapons theoretically had a higher limit. Besides, although spear techniques were difficult, it wasn't as if he couldn't learn them. He had never chased after quick success. Advancing step by step ensured a more solid foundation in his arts. I will continue to train with the spear. Chun Sansi made his decision. You do have ambition. Wang Ji didn't urge him further but changed the topic. However, Sansi, with you being fought over by me and old Lu amongst others, do you feel like you're about to soar to the skies?
No.
Chun Sansi was aware of the value he had shown, which might be considered not bad. But he wasn't foolish enough to believe it was secure. Possibilities, before they become reality, are merely possibilities. He believed that so-called geniuses were never in short supply. But those who truly made it to the end and stood at the top were not necessarily those geniuses. Moreover, he never considered himself a top-notch genius. More often, it was about relying on one's own efforts. Fatty Wang telling him this probably meant he really saw him as one of his own. Chun Sansi gave a cupped fist salute. Thank you, 100 households Wang, for the guidance. As long as you understand, that's good. But you also need not be overly cautious. Wang Ji personally poured 2 bowls of wine and handed one to him. Although I am just a 6th-rank householder within Piyang County's territory, I can still protect my subordinates. I will remember that. Chun Sansi picked up the bowl and drank it in one gulp. 100 households. Wang also drained his bowl, then tossed it aside, patted his stomach, and headed out the door. I'm off. I still have to join the Lord 1,000 households tonight to carry out a mission, fighting bloody battles. Buzz! Following that, a rallying call sounded throughout the military camp. 100 households. Wang and households Commander Lu gathered their men to head into the city. Entering the city again? Are they still hunting the barbarian assassins? Chun Sansi contemplated. With all this chaos lately, it really isn't easy to make a move, but it couldn't be delayed any longer. Qin Feng had already become a true inheritor. The longer the delay, the more troublesome it would become. Time to change the approach. With all this chaos, the death of 1 or 2 people should be quite normal, right? Mr. Wang, you are so naughty. You are so big, ha ha ha. Spring Pavilion. In the private room, Wang Ji, with a beauty in each arm, couldn't stop being fed grapes and sipping fine wine, thoroughly enjoying himself. Across from him sat 2 young men. One was dressed extravagantly, holding a folding fan, the very picture of a dashing gentleman, wrapped around a lovely lady. It was Liang Zhan, the young master of Tianyuan Martial Arts Hall. The other young man, donned in a robe equally presentable, was indeed Qin Feng. He had no women by his side and sat somewhat stiffly. Here, 100 households. Wang, I toast to you. Liang Zhan raised his cup in invitation. Sure, sure, sure. 100 households. Wang drank heartily. 100 households. Wang. Liang Zhan put down his cup and asked with a smile, what about that hunter from the countryside? How have you considered it? Mr. Liang is talking about whom? Wang Ji feigned ignorance. Liang Zhan went silent for a moment, took out a 20-tael silver ingot from his sleeve, and slapped it over with a chuckle. 100 households. Wang, you really forget things so quickly, don't you? Wang Ji glanced out of the corner of his eye and gestured with his mouth, the silver disappearing from his hand in an instant. Look at my memory. He slapped his forehead. I remember now. Is it that fellow named Qian from Su family village? I'll take care of him, don't worry. Mr. Wang, you've misremembered. Qin Feng, unable to hold back, suddenly stood up. I'm talking about Chun Sansi from Yanbian village. Chapter 26. Going to see your brother. Qin Feng could no longer hold himself back. He had recently obtained the qualification of true inheritor and was on reasonably good terms with the young master, Liang Zhan. After learning that Chun Sansi had joined the army, he implored Liang Zhan to pull some strings and see if it was possible to kick him out of the barracks to deal with him easily. But later, Chun Sansi was taken under the wing of Wang Ji. Therefore, Qin Feng entrusted Liang Zhan to invite the 100 households officer to a banquet. Fatty Wang, who was indeed infamous for his greed and lechery, would come whenever he was called, almost without fail. Everything was expected to go smoothly, but this invitation turned into 3 days of continuous entertainment. In the daytime, lavish meals and fine wine were served at 8 Treasures Building, and beauties from Spring Pavilion kept them company at night. Over these 3 days, more than 20 taels of silver vanished for nothing. Naturally, Qin Feng couldn't afford such extravagance. The money was all provided by Liang Zhan, but this couldn't go on either. It was time to make things clear. So Qin Feng simply laid it all out. The moment Chun Sansi's name was mentioned, the private room fell eerily silent. Wang Ji did not rush to reply but languidly savored his wine before pushing aside the women and standing up. He moved toward Qin Feng step by step, with a clear smirk on his lips, but no trace of warmth to be felt. Ah, the Chen fellow, I do seem to have such a person under me. Come now, what's the grudge between you two? An instant ago, 100 households Wang had seemed like another dissolute bureaucrat, but at this moment, he exerted a tremendous pressure on Qin Feng. Subconsciously standing up to answer, he said, Sir, my elder brother has gone missing, and I suspect. You suspect? Wang Ji glared with his right eye, almost getting in Qin Feng's face. That means you have no evidence, right? No, I don't. Qin Feng admitted. But among the many villages around, The only person with the capability to hurt his brother was Chun Sansi. 100 households. Wang suddenly changed his expression and started laughing at the gentleman. Mr. Liang, look at your disciple, what a joker. His brother disappears, and he blames someone without proof. Isn't this just making a fuss? 100 households. Wang, I'm not making this up. Qin Feng started to speak but then stopped mid-sentence. What could he say? That his brother wanted to abduct someone else's wife first? He cast a pleading look at Liang Zhan. The latter ignored him, going along with Fatty Wang's words. 100 households. Wang has a point. I actually think it might be a misunderstanding as well. Young master. Qin Feng wanted to object but was silenced by a gesture from Liang Zhan. 100 households. Wang. Liang Zhan continued. Let's leave the matter here and continue drinking. Later, we'll call for a couple more top girls. No need. Fatty Wang waved his hand. These past few days I've been working with your martial arts hall to search for the barbarians. We've already narrowed down the area, and I reckon we'll find them tonight, so I need to go as well. Otherwise, Household's Commander Xiong may give me a hard time again. Let's continue another day. As for your brother's matter, I reckon it was probably those barbarians doing. He outstretched his stout palm and patted Qin Feng's shoulder twice. Once I've caught the barbarians, I promise to force the truth about your brother's whereabouts from them. After the 2 pats, Qin Feng almost spat out blood. Before he could react, Wang Ji grabbed his sword and pushed open the door to leave. Young master. Ignoring the pain in his shoulder, Qin Feng said, What does 100 households Wang mean by this? What else could he mean? The smile on Liang Zhan's face faded. He's clearly telling us not to touch that kid. What the devil? Fatty Wang is well known far and wide for his cunning. Why would he suddenly take someone under his protection? Qin Feng asked, Young master, what should I do? Liang Zhan opened his folding fan and gently waved it, his voice laced with helplessness. Don't think of this fat man as merely a 6th-rank officer. He has no small backing. He hails from the 8 camps, and rumors say he used to be able to speak directly to Supervisor Sunday. Even though he's been relegated to the households department, he probably still knows a few high-ranking officials. Even I have to treat him politely. It's better not to provoke if avoidable. So, let's drop this matter here. Stop. Qin Feng's brows furrowed as his voice uncontrollably rose. Young master, if I tell you to stop, you stop. Don't you understand? Liang Zhan slammed his folding fan down onto the table with a snap, scolding without warning. Hasn't this young master already spent dozens of taels of silver on your behalf? Isn't that generous and righteous enough? Qin Feng lowered his head, not daring to speak again, but his fists tightened in the shadows. Hee. Liang Zhan then turned and soothingly laughed. All right, Qin Feng. I know you and your brother were close, but isn't Wang Ji there to protect us? We're untouchable, right? As the saying goes, a gentleman can wait 10 years to take revenge. After the assassin's incident last time, you were taken as a direct disciple by my father. Just cultivate diligently, and won't you be able to take your revenge later? Qin Feng remained silent. Come on, sit down and join us. Liang Zhan looked out at the night sky. After the hour of you today, the city will be under martial law. Household's Commander Xiong personally plans to capture that barbarian, so you'd better not go out. Thank you for your kind intentions, young master, but with such a great vendetta unavenged, I dare not indulge myself. Qin Feng understood that no matter what he said, the other party would no longer help, so he took his leave. As the hour of you approached, the sky gradually darkened. All the way, his thoughts were anything but calm. Could it really end like this? Or should he do as Liang Zhan suggested, diligently practice martial arts and seek revenge later? Absolutely not. Fatty Wang's protection of Chun Sansi showed that the boy's talent was probably extraordinary. If he delayed, where would his advantage come from? Most importantly, how could he cultivate in peace with his revenge unfulfilled? Since they were 3, they had lost their parents. It was his elder brother, Qin Xiong, who raised him, selling pancakes to make a living, and later, When life got too tough, they had no choice but to engage in usury and human trafficking. But his brother was a good man. Now his brother had disappeared without a trace, neither alive nor dead. The only thing left was the golden lock his brother had given him when he was 10 years old. Wait, where was the golden lock? Qin Feng reached for his neck only to find that the amulet he always wore close to his body had disappeared. How could it? Wang Ji. He suddenly remembered 100 households Wang patting his shoulder a few times. This was too insulting. Chun Sansi. Qin Feng was consumed by rage. If nobody would help him, he would take his revenge by himself. With his mastery of blood refining, killing a novice who had just started learning martial arts should be a piece of cake. As for what would happen after, he could only bet that there wouldn't be consequences. Qin Feng made up his mind. He hurried to pass through the inspection before the city gate closed, leaving the county seat and heading straight for his home in Yanbian village. The empty house no longer rang with the voice of his brother, laughing and playing drinking games, fueling the fire in his heart. Qin Feng searched through his belongings, pulled out a set of black clothes to wear, and covered his face with a black cloth. He sat down on a chair, cradling the treasure sword with both hands as he closed his eyes and concentrated. He was just waiting for the dead of night to slip out and kill. Caw, caw. Midnight. The night crows cawed. Qin Feng opened his bloodshot eyes. Just as he was about to take up his sword and leave the house, suddenly a ghostly voice came from outside. Qin Feng. Your brother sent me to take you to him. Chapter 27. Brothers Reunited. Who? Qin Feng shivered. He immediately rushed outside, only to catch a glimpse of a dark shadow flashing by at the end of the road. Still daring to seek me out. Qin Feng gathered his energy and sprinted furiously. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't catch up to the shadow. Qinggong, you can perform Qinggong too? Could it be you? Chun Sansi? Qin Feng barely managed to fall behind the shadow. The two, one in front and one behind, chased each other, leaving Yanbian village and heading straight towards Tiger Head Mountain. They reached Second Layer Mountain. The shadow flashed again, burrowing into the dense forest and completely disappearing. Clang! The long sword unsheathed. Qin Feng held the sword in one hand, cautiously stepping into the dense forest. The night sky was crystal clear, the moon bright, stars sparse. The ghastly white moonlight scattered across the earth, broken by the dense branches into mottled shadows and light. With every step Qin Feng took, rustling sounds emitted from the surrounding thicket, unclear whether they were caused by startled bugs and animals, or someone lurking in the shadows. He swung his sword forward in anger, cutting down swathes of plants to clear his view, but the shadow that had lured him out remained unseen. Who exactly are you? Weren't you to lead me to see my elder brother? Where is he now? Finally, that deep, eerie voice rose again. Your brother's head is nearly crushed by you, and you still ask me? What? Qin Feng was startled and looked down. Beneath his feet, embedded in the mud, was a stark white skull. Around the skull, scattered bones and pieces of clothing lay around. From the remains of the clothing, it appeared they had been torn apart by wild beasts. This was Qin Xiong's clothing. How could he have forgotten? Brother! Swoosh! Qin Feng roared, his heart suddenly turning cold. A wolf-teeth arrow pierced his heart from behind, protruding from the front. Thud! Qin Feng knelt on one knee, the long sword planted into the earth for support, struggling with all his might not to fall, as blood gushed from his mouth and nose like a fountain. He had no strength left, nor the will to resist anymore. He merely gazed blankly at his elder brother's remains. The moonlight, salt-like, illuminated them both. One alive, one a ghost, two real brothers. Damn it! My heart is kind. I can't bear to see this scene. Since your brotherly love is so deep, I'll grant you both a reunion. Chun Sansi emerged from the shadows. He mobilized his chi blood into his arms, using the plum blossom spear technique powerfully, and pierced through Qin Feng's heart, ending his life. From start to finish. Qin Feng had never managed to see his killer's true face. Such is the terrifying nature of long-range weapons. If one can neither dodge nor withstand the blow, they are almost always incapacitated by a single strike. Clearly, mastery in blood refining was not enough to resist. Chun Sansi searched the body, finding 10 taels of silver. "You're indeed richer than your brother." Besides that, there was a sword. Chun Sansi thought it over but decided not to take it. This sword, issued by Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy, was too distinctive a feature and couldn't be sold off. In order to prevent anyone from recognizing the arrow and spear wounds on Qin Feng's body, he first pulled out the wolf teeth arrow, then picked up the long sword, chopping the corpse wildly over a dozen times, ensuring that the wounds couldn't be identified before he was satisfied. Finally dealt with. Having eliminated a major worry, Chun Sansi felt comforted. This trip, both his skills in tracking, stealth, and archery had improved significantly. Skill: Archery, small achievement. Progress: sad face 50/1000. Tracking and stealth breakthrough. Tracking and stealth, small achievement. Progress: 0/1000. Utility: night as bright as day. Insight: shocking, light as a feather, concealing breath and hiding. On top of the original basis, 2 additional effects had emerged. Though it was night, Chun Sansi could see every minute movement as clearly as if it were day. Concealing breath and hiding, self-explanatory, needs no further description. With these 2 skills, Chun Sansi was truly an assassin who came and left without a trace. It's time to go back. Tonight, there was a big commotion in the county city, unknown if it would spill over to the outside. Not daring to linger, he quickly retraced his steps under the cover of night. As he passed by Su family village, Chun Sansi sharply noticed some activity in the woods. Highly vigilant, he immediately climbed a tree, deploying his newly learned concealing breath technique. Instants later, he felt as if he had merged with the tree. Even the birds perched on the tree were not startled. Staggering footsteps came from the woods, resembling a drunkard who every few steps would crash to the ground, breaking the undergrowth, creating a crashing noise. Finally, the source of the noise entered Chun Sansi's field of vision. However, this was not a drunkard but a person gravely injured. The man who approached wasn't tall, his clothes were tattered, and his body was covered in blood with over a dozen knife wounds deep enough to expose his bones. One could even see his pulsating organs. Sustaining such severe wounds yet still able to walk was nothing short of miraculous. Where did he come from? Chun Sansi noted the man's attire, earrings, and a braided beard, not the style of the local people. A barbarian? That assassin? Weren't there Lord Thousand Households Xiang Tingchun in person last night, along with 300 troops and countless disciples from the Martial Arts Academy to guard? And he still managed to escape. He didn't act recklessly, but observed secretly. Cough, cough, cough. As the barbarian kept coughing up black blood, he staggered and fell into the bushes, repeatedly trying to get up only to collapse back to the ground. His state was clearly deteriorating fast, nearly at his end. There, he lay on the ground, using his hands covered in sticky blood to dig under a rock, tremblingly scooping up the mud. It took great effort to carve out a small hole. Then, he drew a box from his bosom and buried it with all his remaining strength. Is he hiding something? Chun Sansi watched intently. Cough, cough, cough. After burying the item, the barbarian scrambled to cover the spot with grass and branches. By now, he was practically only breathing in and no longer out, on the brink of death, yet he still persisted in crawling forward to get as far away from the hiding spot as possible. After about 10 meters, his body stiffened, and he moved no more. Chun Sansi waited in the tree for roughly 10 minutes, confirming the man was truly dead, before leaping down to poke open the soil with his long spear and retrieve the hidden object. What's this? Chun Sansi toyed with the palm-sized box, pondering. The fact that he strained his last breath to hide it meant it must be extremely valuable. But the question remains. Why would an assassin carry treasures with him on a mission? Or perhaps, The barbarian's purpose was to steal this item specifically from Payang County? No, that's not right. Chun Sansi shook his head. There were still inconsistencies. Had he come to steal, the barbarian should not have lingered in the area after killing the county magistrate, and during that time also killed the master of Yunha Martial Arts Hall. Moreover, what treasure could little Payang County possibly possess? Intelligence even less likely. With the incident escalated to this level, even if it were intelligence, it would have been rendered useless. Was there still a need to bury it? The whole affair had been strange from the start. Neither the government office nor the martial arts schools had mentioned searching for any item, only capturing the assassin. Ahead! Quick! Suddenly, footsteps sounded not far off, swift and firm. Clearly the pursuers had caught up. Chun Sansi couldn't risk exposing his nocturnal activities, quickly restored the hole and placed a rock over it, then climbed back into the tree with the box. The ones who arrived weren't from the government office or the garrison. It was people from a martial arts academy, and only 3 of them. A middle-aged man led 2 direct disciples. From their attire, they were from Zhao's martial arts academy. The leader was the master Zhao Ben. Master, just the one. And he's dead. They discovered the barbarian's corpse. Zhao Ben's expression changed as he rushed over, searching the body. Where's the item? Search. Yes. The 2 disciples drew their swords and began scouring the area. Of course, they found nothing in the end. Master, there's nothing. I reckon it must have been taken by some of the others. Damn. So close. Zhao Ben's fists whitened as he clenched them. It took a long while before he could suppress his rage. Did you leak any information tonight? Master, rest assured. Besides the masters of the 3 major martial arts academies, only a few direct disciples and Lord Thousand households knew that we were searching for an immortal treasure. The rest of the ordinary disciples and the official soldiers from the garrison think we were simply capturing an assassin. Good. Zhao Ben warned. This matter is critical to our 100-year plan. If any word leaks out, the consequences are unimaginable. Therefore, if any outsider learns even a fraction of information, they must be killed without hesitation. Go back. Also, carry the barbarian's corpse back and cut it open. Don't rule out the possibility that the item is inside him. Yes. Watching as the group departed, Chun Sansi took some time to absorb the overwhelming amount of information from the conversation. Immortal treasure? They were searching for an immortal treasure? And Lord Thousand Households Xiang Tingchun was in on this too? And hell, they were so ruthless as to kill any outsider who came into contact with it? Chun Sansi weighed the box in his hand. Well then, there's no way I can let anyone know I've touched this thing. It looks like it's mine now. Chapter 28. The box. He hid until the latter half of the night. After confirming the surrounding area was safe, Chun Sansi blended into the darkness and returned home before dawn. Without disturbing Sister Lan, who was fast asleep, he quietly took out the box by the bedside and examined it carefully. On the surface, it appeared to be just an ordinary sandalwood box, devoid of any decorative patterns and utterly barren, save for a strangely shaped keyhole. They called this thing immortal treasure. What did that mean? Could it possibly be a relic left behind by an immortal? Chun Sansi's curiosity was intense. He didn't have the key, so he tried to force the box open, but it wouldn't budge. Effortlessly, he could pull apart dual stone crossbows and even muster his chi blood. Yet the box remained unyielding. In the end, it was still made of wood and could definitely be smashed open directly. But Chun Sansi was not foolish enough to actually do that. There could be some mechanism hidden inside, and brute force was likely to damage the immortal treasure within. Resigned, he could only put the item away for now, planning to take the opportunity to understand the box's mechanism and what could be used to open it later. Huff! Chun Sansi exhaled deeply. This night had indeed been a busy one. But now that Qin Feng was eliminated and Chi Blood was the first to be mastered, perhaps life would be a little more comfortable after his upcoming promotion to small flag and obtaining the selected point qualification. As these thoughts wandered through his mind, he used Gu Xinlan as a soft pillow, pressing her beneath him and drifted comfortably into a deep sleep. The next day, Chun Sansi got up early and went to the military barracks. He hadn't even entered when he overheard everyone in the camp discussing last night's events. "You didn't go last night, so you don't know how chaotic the city was. I saw it all with my own eyes right next to it." Even Household's Commander Xiong had to take action personally, working with the masters of Tianyuan, Tai Lei, and Zhao martial arts halls to corner that barbarian assassin in an abandoned courtyard. Just as they were about to capture the barbarian alive, a group of masked assassins emerged. Although their faces were covered by the styles of martial arts they used, they seemed to be barbarians as well, and even more formidable ones at that, each skilled in bone training and above. One even managed to exchange blows with Household's Commander Xiong. They seriously injured the master of Tai Lei Martial Arts Academy and escorted the assassin out through the city gate. Of course, they also lost more than half of their own men. Listening to their discussions, Chun Sansi realized that the city must have experienced intense fighting last night, and something didn't sound quite right. The assassin was rescued? Then how did he end up dead from severe injuries? Could it be that the masked assassins had also come for the immortal treasure and had turned on each other after leaving the city? The barbarian assassin fortuitously escaped but was mortally wounded and just happened to be encountered by him? If so, was it possible that the reason the box couldn't be opened was that the key was in the hands of the other group they mentioned? This matter was truly very complex. Arriving at the barracks, Chun Sansi saw that Wang Ji hadn't arrived yet, so he decided to practice for a while in the martial arts arena. Chun Sansi. He had just picked up the plum blossom spear when someone called out his name. Turning around, he saw it was Song Yan's second uncle, Luo Dongquan, 100 Households Luo. 100 Households Luo gestured to him with a smile. "Come over here for a moment." "Master Luo." Chun Sansi planted his iron spear into the ground, standing his ground. "If you have something to say it here." "All right." Luo Dongquan, unbothered, clasped his hands behind his back. "I have a favor to ask of you." 100 Households officer having something to ask for? Chun Sansi didn't overthink it and said, "100 Households Luo may speak freely, but I'm afraid I am of low status and might not be able to help much. You have great talent, the best I have seen in all my years of practicing martial arts." Luo Dongquan sighed. "My nephew, he can't compete with you. But don't get me wrong, I have no intention of making things difficult for you. If one is inferior in skills, one should concede. I want to ask you to give up your opportunity for the selected point in the first half of next year to Yenner, and you take part in the second half instead. Of course, I wouldn't ask you to do this for nothing." He produced a silver note. "This is a silver note worth 100 taels, which can help you buy plenty of blood-replenishing soup and beast meat to increase your cultivation speed. It's just a delay of half a year. Should be quite a good deal, right? There are 2 selected points every year, one in the first half and one in the second half. Each household's commander can only send one person at most each time. On the surface, half a year's delay doesn't seem like much. But why doesn't he let his own nephew delay for half a year? Only a fool would believe that. Chun Sansi wouldn't delay his own advancement over such a small amount of silver. "Thank you, 100 Households Luo, but I think there is no need for this. Song Yan has good talent. He will certainly have no problem in participating in the selected point in the second half of the year." 100 Households Luo kept his smile. "Fine, business not done, courtesy remains. Since you are unwilling, let's leave it at that. Don't take today's matter to heart. Old Luo, you're quite a character." A plump hand suddenly flashed by, snatching the silver note directly. Wang Ji appeared silently at some point, with a grin that could not be concealed. "You were planning to give this as a congratulations gift to Sansi, aren't you? My 100 taels, you're so generous? You really are the wealthiest." "Damn it, Wang." Luo Dongquan reached out to grab the silver note back. Wang Ji, quick as lightning, kept backing away while pocketing the silver note. "Since you've given a gift, how can you take it back? Or is old Luo not really giving a gift? Are you trying to coerce and bribe him? Shall we inform Household's Commander Xiong about this?" "You." Luo Dongquan was speechless for a long while, eventually sneering and walking away. Chun Sansi watched, utterly dumbfounded. What skill 100 households Wang had to make 100 tales with just a few words? What did old Luo want from you? Wang Ji spit after Luo Dongquan's departing figure. Chun Sansi reported truthfully. Such a crafty mind. Wang Ji scoffed. Do you know why he wants you to participate in the second half of the year? Rumor has it supervisor's son is getting on in years, and the first half of next year will be the last time he personally selects his direct disciples for the selected point. Starting from the second half of the year, it will be someone else teaching. Chun Sansi wasn't too surprised. Very well, try to avoid dealing with old Luo from now on. Wang Ji said, just wait here. Households Commander Xiang and County Magistrate Zhang have arrived. They'll be blowing the assembly call soon to gather and inspect your batch. He began explaining the next steps. Selected point is usually chosen only from the newest recruited soldiers of that year. Only those who show talent in a short period of time imply high potential and are worth cultivating. In a while, Households Commander Xiang Tingchun will personally check the cultivation levels. Then the county government's county chief will confirm the time of enlistment and whether there are any instances of favoritism or fraud. Once verified, it will be reported up to the Liangzhou governor's mansion. After that, the governor mansion will send a dedicated selection officer later on to personally confirm there's no deceit. Only then will it be time to go to the 8 camps in Liangzhou to participate in the true selected point to determine future status and position within the 8 camps. Buzz! 100 households Wang finished talking. The assembly call just then sounded. Chapter 29. Assessment. The assembly call sounded. The new batch of soldiers gradually arrived and lined up in the martial arts arena. Not long after, clad in lock armor and with a saber at his waist, Xiang Tingchun appeared first, followed by a civil servant dressed in official robes. Xiang Tingchun's face was expressionless as he directly made his way to the high platform. He surveyed the crowd and slowly spoke in a deep voice. Those who have refined their chi blood, step forward. Out of 38 men, only Chun Sansi took a step forward. A hint of surprise flickered across Xiang Tingchun's usually unfathomable face, and he ordered, let a small flag spar with him so I can take a look. Su Bin, step out. Wang Ji raised his hand to point and said, follow the rules, use only the blood cultivation introduction level, but you are free to unleash any cultivation technique and help Chun Sansi practice. At the edge of the martial arts arena, Su Bin, who was unexpectedly chosen, was momentarily stunned but still stepped out. He looked at Chun Sansi with a complex expression. In these past several days, this fellow villager of his had been the center of attention. First, he was publicly fought over by several lords' 100 households. Then, he refined his chi blood in a mere 6 days. 6 days. He himself barely managed to pass the threshold to become a military soldier, and he couldn't even remember how long it took him to refine his chi blood. In any case, it took him years in the army to finally scrape together the rank of a small flag. If this youngster performed well today, he'd likely be promoted directly to small flag. Such limitless prospects. He, on the other hand, hadn't shown a good face to the newcomer on his first day of enlistment. Even more unlucky, somehow he was chosen to be the one to assess the newcomer. What are you dawdling for? Begin. Xiang Tingchun urged. Use the same level of chi blood and go all out. This will also let me see if your martial arts as military officers have made any progress. Old Su. They say this man is your fellow villager. Make sure you don't go easy on him. A few flag officers and Lord's 100 households chimed in from the side. They had often heard about a prodigy arriving at the garrison and had been eager to assess his true skills. Su Bin, as instructed, summoned a thread of his chi blood. The amount of chi blood could be controlled. Blood cultivation introduction was 1 thread, mastery was 2, and small achievement meant it spread throughout the limbs. Maintaining only 1 thread of chi blood was the equivalent of suppressing one's level to introduction. However, it was difficult to restrain the saber technique that had been accumulated over many years. In theory, if the two were to fight, he would have an absolute advantage. Even so, Subin felt somewhat nervous. Lord Thousand Households was personally watching the bout, having made his expectations clear. It meant if he lost to a newcomer in front of everyone, his prospects would be essentially ruined. On the contrary, if he could demonstrate some fierce moves and catch Lord Thousand Households' eye, his ambition since childhood had been to earn military achievements on the battlefield someday, but being born in Payang County, he never even had the chance to face the enemy. Lacking cultivation resources, stuck in the blood-refining realm for so many years, he was almost without hope of advancement. Today, however, was an opportunity. Both were fighting for their own futures. He wasn't willing to sacrifice his for the sake of helping another. So, there was absolutely no chance of him going easy. He hoped that this younger brother, introduced by his father, would not blame him. "Sansi, in case I injure you, don't blame me." Subin drew his saber from its sheath, the 3-foot-long blade emitting a chill in the blazing sun. "Su Flag Officer, please come at me," said Chun Sansi, bracing himself with his spear raised. Ever since he started practicing martial arts, he hadn't truly sparred with anyone. This opportunity was also a good chance to see what level he was at. "Good, watch the saber." Subin suddenly made his move. His body slightly bent. He dragged his saber as he moved, his gaze fierce like a ravenous wolf finally seeing flesh after days of hunger. In just 2 breaths, he reached the young man's side and his Yenling saber slashed horizontally. At the same time, a dot of cold light appeared in front. In the blink of an eye, this cold light became the gun tip, rapidly enlarging in Subin's pupils. The later man arrives before one who set off earlier. The saber is short, the spear long, the way of the long weapon. What a fast spear! Subin dared not advance further. Half a step more and he wouldn't strike the opponent, but likely be pierced first. He swiftly halted his steps, attempting to use his saber to break the spear shaft made of white wax wood. Chun Sansi clearly wouldn't give him this chance, retracting his spear by 3 inches, uniting waist and horse, mobilizing his chi blood to his right arm and, with a blocking and catching move, clashed the spear tip against the saber edge. Clang! A crisp sound of weapon impact rang out. The Yenling saber buzzed incessantly. The Meihua iron spear was even more incessantly trembling. Both men simultaneously retreated several steps. But for a long weapon, distance opened up means advantage. Subin had barely steadied himself when the Meihua iron spear stabbed at him again, forcing him to block with his saber. Fortunately, after many years of martial arts training, he had no problem with such intensity, able to parry it. But the basic spear technique of a military soldier is something everyone has practiced. Why were Chun Sansi's spear techniques so unusually fast and fierce, unlike ordinary people? And then there was chi blood. Although it was just a thread of chi blood, he had concentrated on refining it for years, and it should be somewhat stronger by all account. Yet, facing that direct strike, he actually had no advantage in terms of power, barely gaining a slight upper hand by relying solely on his experience with saber techniques. How odd and baffling! Subin felt shame, worried about ruining the impression he made in the eyes of Lord Thousand Households. He wielded the saber in his hand with increasing aggression, aiming each blow at vital points, trying to exhaust his opponent's chi blood this way. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of metal clashing continuously rose. Dust billowed in the martial arts arena. Chun Sansi kept retreating to maintain the distance advantage of the long weapon. Damn it! Wang Ji couldn't help but curse. He had thought that it was Subin who had introduced Chun Sansi to the military camp, so he had deliberately called him out. Was this guy actually playing for real? He'd wait and see how this blind fool would be dealt with later. Meanwhile, Xiang Tingchuan's eyes narrowed slightly, watching with great interest. Well done! The soldiers watching also began to cheer. Clang! Another clash of metal on metal. Chun Sansi narrowly avoided being hit. At a critical moment, he held his breath, twirled a spear flower, and pushed the metaphorical fierce wolf, which had come close to him, back to a distance of 7 steps. Subin was indeed a veteran. After several bouts, his arms grew numb, his shoulders ached, and his body and face were covered in sweat. Yet his chi blood was still plentiful. He could go on. Rarer were such sparring opportunities, and his skill with the spear was improving rapidly. He treasured this chance. Come on! Su Bin swung his saber, one stroke after another, his eyes reddening. This was already the 8th round, and he still couldn't defeat his opponent. Since he had already offended him, he might as well do it thoroughly. No matter what, he could not become a worthless person in the eyes of 1,000 households. He spared no effort, the Yenling saber tearing through the air as if he were a raging wolf, using every possible means to rip into his prey. He planned to fight hard and fast to speed up the wear on his opponent, looking for a weakness. However, as time went on, Su Bin gradually noticed something was wrong. On the surface, the young spearman seemed to be on the defense all the time. But his chi blood never waned. Instead, it was his own chi blood that kept being expended, close to bottoming out. How can this be? A look of astonishment spread across Su Bin's face. Impossible. This kid had just begun cultivating chi blood. He must run out after another 10 rounds. With that thought, he became even more violent in his saber techniques. But the reality was entirely different from what he had imagined. After another 10 rounds, he had used up most of his chi blood. Yet Chun Sansi still hadn't lost. This young man, looking out of breath and nearly done for, always managed to persist at critical moments, displaying terrifying endurance. Clang! Su Bin, due to his depleted chi blood, slowed in speed and weakened in strength. It was then that the tide turned, and the Meihua iron spear shifted completely from defense to offense. A parry, a grab, a stab. Every key point in the spear technique was executed by Chun Sansi with precision and ferocity, combined with chi blood, like a sudden downpour of a violent storm, instantly upon him. A moment's inattention could lead to a catastrophic injury. Now it was Su Bin's turn to be drenched in sweat. His chi blood gradually dried up in the fierce fight. His hand holding the saber even began to cramp. He forgot about attacking, or to put it more accurately, he no longer had the opportunity. All he could see was the constant flickering of cold light and fluttering red tassels. This was impossible. Chun Sansi had only recently cultivated chi blood. How could his endurance be so extraordinary? There were several moments when Su Bin almost tapped into his other chi blood reserves, revealing the strength of blood refining mastery. But he knew he had lost. 5 years. 5 years of martial arts practice, and he couldn't compete with someone who had half a month of training. Clang! In a daze, his Yenling saber was picked off, and the sharp triangular gun tip followed close behind, pressing against his throat. Su Flag Officer, I yield. Chapter 30 Flag Officer. Chun Sansi was sweating profusely, even his eyes were soaked in sweat, and his physical strength was nearing exhaustion. Yet he felt like he could still push on a bit longer if he gritted his teeth. Perhaps this was the chemical reaction produced by pairing amazing endurance with the Hao Ran breathing skill. However, his victory was not easy. After all, Su Bin was a military officer who had practiced martial arts for years and had achieved a small accomplishment in blood refining. This battle had been quite helpful to him. Cultivation technique. Basic spear technique for military soldiers. Entry level. Progress. 52 to 500. Utility. Gun movement swift. Amazing endurance. He personally experienced the effects of these 2 skill descriptors. He estimated that any peer within 7 steps would be struck down before they had a chance to draw their sword. His spear technique was not only enduring but also swift. Both long-lasting and fierce. Good. Atop the high platform, Xiang Tingchun loudly exclaimed in approval, his eyes brimming with gratification. The watching soldiers burst into applause and cheers. Fierce. Zhu Tong's voice was the loudest. Su Wenkai stretched his neck, equally energized by the sight. I see a hidden king's aura in Brother Chun. He is destined for greatness. What's the use of your looking? Zhu Tong cursed. You'd better focus on yourself. It's been 10 days, and you still haven't grasped a single pile work. You're just waiting to be sent out to repair city walls. Brother Chun is truly formidable. Song Yen couldn't help but express his admiration. Su Bin's heart felt as dead as ashes. He had lost to a novice in front of hundreds of people. His chances of advancing in his military career from now on were pretty much over. Not only that, this duel had offended Chin Sansi. Previously, he could disregard him and not show a good face, and that was that. This time, he had been ruthless and had shown no mercy. If he had incurred resentment once Chin Sansi rose to a high position, wouldn't it be easy for him to make life difficult for him? You won. Su Bin picked up his knife and dejectedly left the field. Chin Sansi didn't even have the chance to speak. Xiang Tingchun on the high platform was very satisfied with this competition. He looked towards the accompanying civil servant. Before Wang Ji spoke with me, I did not believe him, but now it seems like our Payang thousand households have really produced a potential general. County Magistrate Zhang, no issues, right? No issues. County Magistrate Zhang had already checked the military register. I will report it to the Liangzhou governor's mansion after I return, and make clear the qualifications for selected point of this Chan Sansi. The matter was originally expected to be handled by the county prefect himself. However, since the prefect had died and a new one had not yet been assigned, it was temporarily entrusted to the county chief. Xiang Tingchun nodded, signaling Chan Sansi to step down and continue the examination of the other new recruits. How many of them have cultivated chi blood in 10 days, and how many have learned the spear technique? Out of 38 people, 6 stood out. Xiang Tingchun commanded, "Pair up in twos and show me a fight." Yes, the 6 responded. Before an hour had passed, the competition concluded, and one could basically tell how each person had performed. Song Yen is good, and in a few days, he should be able to cultivate chi blood. Xiang Tingchun mused. The qualifications for selected point in the second half of next year should not be an issue. You're named Zhu Tong? You're also not bad. Having 7 military soldiers among this batch is the highest turnout in the history of Payang County. Alright, you may also step down for now. The rest, directly show me your pile work. 32 people performed pile work. About 15 or 16 of them hadn't even mastered pile work. The most absurd was a middle-aged man with a goatee who did not know a single move. This sight made Xiang Tingchun frown deeply, losing the patience to continue watching. That will do, the assessment is over. Chun Sansi. Present. Chin Sansi answered. From this day forth, you are promoted to flag officer, with all the due treatment of the position, in addition to being equipped with a first-class warhorse. Xiang Tingchun looked to the side. Wang Ji, he's your recruit, so he will be under your command from now on. You have a position for him, right? Yes, yes, yes. Wang Ji hurriedly answered. There are quite a few empty spots. Xiang Tingchun continued. For the others, fill in the vacancies under each household's commander. If they achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation or earn military exploits in the future, promote them then. After overseeing the evaluation, he left in a hurry, leaving behind the various households' commanders to deal with the subsequent trivial matters. First was to classify the ranks of the soldiers, and then decide who they would report to. When the selection officers come to pick people each year, it's also the time for those from above to investigate the issue of phantom soldiers. In recent years, the scrutiny has become stricter, and the phenomenon of phantom soldiers has decreased a lot, but it has not completely vanished. 1,000 households should have a full complement of about 11-20 people. Payang County reported about 1,000 people. In reality, there were only a little more than 900 people. This meant that there were nearly 100 vacancies. 30-something people, as long as they looked presentable enough to pass the inspection, were all picked by the military officers to fill the gaps. Chun Sansi also didn't have a full complement under him. He had 7 people. There was Zhu Tong, who actively clamored to come over, for fellow villagers, and 2 who were sent to the army as a punishment. Soon, only 2 or 3 old, weak, sick, and disabled remained unwanted by anyone, belonging to the kind that even a beggar hired temporarily from the street would look better. You don't even know how to stand in a horse stance? Go build the city wall in the neighboring county. No, 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 my lord. I can do odd jobs. Odd jobs? Can you feed a horse? I can learn. Learn. Who has the time to teach you? Cut the nonsense. Drag him away. Su Wenkai was one of those who nobody wanted. Brother Chun. Seeing that he was about to be taken away, Su Wenkai, as if seeing a lifeline, rushed over and clutched Chen Sansi's arm desperately. Do you have a shortage of people under you? Let me follow you? Let me follow you. Don't come and bring us misfortune, Zhu Tong said with extreme disdain. When we go into battle, you won't even know what to do. You'll just drag us down to our deaths. Who says I can't do anything? Su Wenkai said, full of earnest promises. Brother Chun, I, Su Wenkai, have a broad knowledge of astronomy and geography. I am good at arranging troops and managing affairs. Other than being too old to learn martial arts, I can do everything else. Take me in, and I assure you it will be worth it. Enough talk. Household's Commander Lu gave a signal, and 2 soldiers approached to restrain Su Wenkai. At that moment, Chun Sansi cupped his fist and said, Household's Commander Lu, please give this man to me. Are you sure? Household's Commander Lu looked puzzled. Aren't you afraid of wasting a spot under you? Think it over carefully. The issue of phantom soldiers had nothing to do with Chun Sansi, the newcomer. Which is to say, he didn't need to pad the numbers, and naturally, the stronger the combatants under him, the better. No problem. Chun Sansi insisted. I'll make him feed the horses for me later. Fine then. Household's Commander Lu didn't say much. As you wish. If you regret it, just let me know. Phew. Relieved from having to go work on building the city wall, Su Wenkai let out a long sigh of relief. Brother Chan, you really have vision. He's just too kind-hearted and got fooled by you. Zhu Tong cursed. About half an hour later, the soldiers were mostly allocated. The one in charge of the armory handed Chun Sansi a few slips, telling him that he could use them to collect resources. There was blood-replenishing soup, weapon slips, and also a horse. I still owe Su Flag Officer a bow. Chun Sansi wasn't one to shirk debts, but he couldn't find Su Bin in the crowd at the moment. Never mind. Let's go check out the horse first. A horse. It was an extremely valuable strategic resource. Not all flag officers had one. The entire Pyong 1,000 households had less than 30 horses in total. Chun Flag Officer, this horse of yours isn't an ordinary one, the head of the armory said with a grin. It's a top-grade Baihu that Lord 1,000 households took great effort to acquire from the prefecture city. There were only 2 in total, and he was willing to spare you one, a clear sign of how much he values you. Chun Flag Officer, you have a boundless future ahead. He ordered the coachman to lead a fine horse out of the stables. This horse was pure white all over, with strong muscles and a well-proportioned physique. As the wind blew, its mane danced in the breeze, resembling clouds in the sky. Would you like to give it a try, Chun Flag Officer? Be careful, though. The head of the armory reminded. This horse has a fiery temperament. I like them fiery. Chun Sansi mounted the horse. Skill. Horse control. Uninitiated. Progress. 0/100. Utility. None for now. Chapter 31 Xiang Tingchun. Horse control also counts? Winnie. Before Chun Sansi had time to think carefully, the white swan horse suddenly neighed to the sky and bolted out of the stables uncontrollably, bucking wildly, trying to throw off the person on its back. Damn! Chun Sansi almost flew off completely, hastily grabbing the reins with both hands, and clamping his legs tightly around the horse's belly while stepping on the stirrups. It seemed easy for others to ride a horse, but one only knew how difficult it actually was after trying it themselves. Especially with a violent and untamed horse, one could easily lose their life if they weren't careful. Winnie! The white swan horse neighed as it charged haphazardly. Sitting atop, Chun Sansi only felt the gale piercing his ears, the scenery moving rapidly backward, and with the horse's resistance, it was like riding a roller coaster without any safety harness. Good beast. He simply hugged the horse's neck, trying to subdue it with pure brute force. Man and horse were locked in a standoff for an hour, with neither gaining the upper hand. It wasn't until both were exhausted that a temporary truce was called. Skill. Horse control, not entry-level. Progress. 35 out of 100. Utility. None. Are you a mare? Chun Sansi leaned over to check closely. His understanding of horses was limited, but he knew that mares were generally smaller. This one, however, was clearly an anomaly, incredibly strong. Ha 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 ha. Hearty laughter came from behind. Chun Sansi turned around to see it was Xiang Tingchun. Dressed in plain clothes and without his armor, Xiang Tingchun had a more amiable look on his face, yet he still exuded an air of authority. A Lord Thousand Households holds a 5th rank official position. A 5th rank in Payang County is unparalleled. Not just in terms of official ranking but also in cultivation and power. Lord Thousand Households. Chun Sansi greeted with a fist and palm salute. How goes it? That horse isn't easy to tame, is it? Xiang Tingchun teased. It's supposed to be difficult. If this horse wasn't so fiery and occasionally harmful to people, they wouldn't have been willing to give it to me, and I certainly wouldn't have thought of giving it to you. Whether you can tame it or not depends on your own ability. The Lord Thousand Households hadn't come specifically to see him. Chun Sansi noticed that not far away, a coachman was leading out another white horse, likely the one prepared for the Lord Thousand Households trip, and they had just coincidentally met here. Do well, and if you need anything, just come to me. After speaking, Xiang Tingchun mounted his horse. His horse was very well behaved. Where is he going? Chun Sansi mused to himself. Did they find the key to unlock the immortal treasure last night, and were all those masked people caught? Was Luo Dongquan also there? Before leaving the horse grounds, he saw another black horse appear, matching pace with the white horse. The man on the horse was Luo Dongquan. Is he involved with the immortal treasure as well? These people were clearly keeping secrets from the court. His curiosity grew about what exactly was inside the box. Luo, stop bringing up selected point. Xiang Tingchun said firmly. At a time when the Great Shang Court lacks manpower, continuing these internal conflicts would be disgraceful. Lord. Luo Dongquan looked reluctant. Next year's first half is the last supervisor selected point. So what? Xiang Tingchun pulled the reins. You need to understand something. The supervisor's power is too great and, coupled with his advanced age, His Majesty has long wanted him to step down. Joining the 8 camps at this time may not be a good thing. His Majesty has been looking for newcomers these years, wanting to reshuffle the Northern Territory. It's very likely that the 8 camps will be disbanded and reassigned to every corner of the land. East, West, South, and North. At this critical juncture, if someone can distinguish themselves, they might very well rise to a high position under the future new supervisor. Luo Dongquan listened, utterly engrossed. That's why your lordship plans to cooperate with the martial arts hall to search for the so-called immortal treasure. But does such a divine item, that can rapidly enhance one's cultivation, truly exist in this world? Seeing how excited those old fools at the hall are, it doesn't seem fake. I'm not sure where those barbarians acquired such treasure. No wonder their raids have become more frequent since last year. Xiang Tingchun paused and then continued. You must remember, our main goal isn't the immortal treasure. Those fools, do they really think they can hide such a thing if it does exist? The most important thing is to take this opportunity to make those martial arts halls and the rich people in the county bleed some money, to prepare for next spring. My lord, do you really plan to go beyond the Great Wall and make a move against the Yuan tribe's branch? Luo Dongquan's expression grew solemn. The barbarians living near the Shi River have at least 2,500 fighters. We only have a total of 900 men, and we also need to report to the Ministry of War. Only after their approval can we dispatch troops. That's why I need war horses, crossbows, provisions, medical herbs. In other words, I need silver. During their conversation, the two arrived in the fields. Xiang Tingchun raised his riding crop, pointing at the vast farmland. Do you see? This land should all belong to our great Shang. But what happened? 7 or 8 parts out of 10 now belong to the martial arts halls and the local gentry as private property. Now that wars are non-stop when we need money, they aren't willing to contribute a single copper. The matter of the immortal treasure happens to be a good scare tactic to subdue them. With money and strength, once we achieve an unrivaled feat, there will be better opportunities for us in the future. Why be confined to the 8 camps? Old Luo, how long have you been with me? Luo Dongquan nodded. Come winter, it will be exactly 21 years. Xiang Tingchun spoke gravely. In all of Payong, I trust you the most. That's why I've confided in you alone about this matter, and hope you can lend your full support. If we succeed, whatever position I attain in the future, you will hold the same. Lord Thousand Households, rest assured. Luo Dongquan bowed with clasped hands. Your humble servant is willing to walk through fire and water for the Lord, and will not shy away from death. Let's go. Talk to those old fellows at the martial arts hall. The two, riding their horses, entered the city and made their way straight to Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy. Liang Zhan greeted them at the entrance. My father and several uncles have long prepared a feast, waiting for both lords. Please come in. After welcoming the guests, Liang Zhan did not hurry inside but waited for a martial arts academy disciple to arrive. He asked, Have you found him? To answer, young master, no. The disciple replied. Nobody was seen at the residences of the brothers in the city, nor at the old home in Yanbian village. When asked around, everyone said they haven't seen Qin Feng. Disappeared. Liang Zhan tapped the palm of his hand with his folding fan. 8 out of 10. That soldier surnamed Chun killed him. Then, young master, what should we do? The disciple, who was close to Qin Feng, felt heavy-hearted. Liang Zhan said coldly, What else can we do? We don't have any evidence. If he's dead, he's dead. Do you expect me to give you a sword so you can go to the army camp to seek revenge? The disciple fell silent. Liang Zhan sneered. Qin Feng was good, having joined their martial arts hall for several years, hardworking and loyal. Recently, by chance, he overheard his secret conversation with his father. Seeing how tight-lipped the lad usually was, he had not killed him but instead took him on as a direct disciple. But the guy was too stubborn and insisted on courting death. He'd advised and helped him. To Liang Zhan, Qin Feng's life was worth only those few dozen taels of silver. Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy wasn't lacking other direct disciples, and Liang Zhan wasn't foolish enough to take a risk to avenge him. This brother Chun is quite interesting indeed. After all, Qin Feng mastered blood refining, yet they say he was killed just like that. Such talent. I must make sure to befriend him after getting through this busy period. Last night also happened to be the time when the barbarians escaped from the city. How coincidental. Liang Zhan narrowed his eyes, thoughtful. Chapter 32 Linglong Jade Box. Military Camp. Chun Sansi and his people had familiarized themselves with everything. Starting tomorrow, they were to begin their official work. As for the job content, Wang Ji was not around. No one knew where he had gone. But Household Commander Lu came over and explained everything to him in great detail. The 90-some people under 100 households Wang were mainly responsible for the 7 parts farming, 3 parts garrison aspect of garrison duty. In the morning, they had to be at the military camp, practicing battle formations as a group. Military soldiers needed to participate in this before being promoted. In the afternoon, they would go to the Great Wall to keep watch and might also be sent to patrol the county town. As for the garrison troops, they had half a day of practice and half a day of work. Only military officers had more freedom. Most of their time could be spent on cultivation. When the beacon fires rise, the horns sound. Household's Commander Lu pointed to the northern sky. If you see black smoke rising, it means the barbarian tribes are invading, and everyone needs to assemble at the first notice. However, it's been many years since we've seen beacon smoke rise up in this place. Also, do you not have a place to live yet? Chun Sansi nodded. When I joined the army, The manager told me there were no spare houses. There's no room for ordinary soldiers, but there are a few houses for military officers. Come with me. Household's Commander Lu led the way. In the military settlement, the vast majority of houses were as simple as those in Yanbian village, mainly made of mud bricks. However, walking 2 miles west to where the military officers lived, everything suddenly looked new. All were standalone courtyards made of blue bricks and solid wood, large and small, divided according to rank. This is a house only 100 households can live in, right? Stopping in front of a 2-entry courtyard, Chan Sansi said, "It doesn't seem appropriate for a small flag like me, does it? What's inappropriate? Who's to say you won't become 100 households before long?" Household's Commander Lu said, "Besides, it's empty anyway, and Lord Thousand Households isn't going to care. Even if he finds out, he'll just turn a blind eye." All right. Chun Sansi understood it was a favor being given to him and didn't turn it down. Firstly, running back and forth between the military camp and Yanbian village every day was not only inconvenient but also a waste of precious time. Secondly, his family's living conditions were truly humble, so moving to a better house would make life more comfortable for Sister Lan. Using a cart borrowed from the military camp for transporting grain and fodder, Chan Sansi went back to Yanbian village to move. "Sure too. You really became an officer?" "For sure. He's even moving with a horse and cart. Once you climb up the ranks, you won't bother with us anymore." What Lai Zi said this time might actually happen. When Chan Sansi had just brought the cart into the village, the villagers were happy to watch the excitement, but gradually, the smiles disappeared from their faces. Becoming an official. It meant that from then on, they were no longer the same kind of people. Uncles and aunties are joking. "I'm just a small flag without even a rank. How am I an official?" Chan Sansi didn't know what else to say. There wasn't much to move from his home, just a few quilts and some pots and pans, making the cart seem rather superfluous. This house is quite nice indeed. Arriving at the new house, Gu Xinlan was also very pleased and busily started to tidy up. Chan Sansi was not idle. After finishing the last 2 pounds of braised bear meat at home, he started practicing spear technique right there in the yard. After bringing out the chi blood, the effect of the bear meat was nowhere near as great as before. It was only equivalent to eating ordinary livestock before he had cultivated chi blood. Cultivation technique. Basic spear technique. Entry level. Progress. 72/500. Utility. Gun movement swift. Amazing endurance. An afternoon only increased the progress by 20 points. It looks like I still need to buy things like bear heart for proper nourishment. And medicinal soups. As a flag officer, Chun Sansi could receive a bowl of blood-replenishing soup every 3 days, but he didn't know how effective it would be. He looked up at the sky and realized it was already dusk. By this time, the people in the pharmacy should have stopped decocting medicines. With nothing else to do, he sat down and flipped through a book for a while. It was still the dashing book from before. Reading about the current emperor's great-grandfather, it mentioned that he was particularly fond of designing things and had invented numerous ingenious devices, including a wooden box specifically for the transmission of intelligence, named the Linglong Jade Box. This box contained mechanisms and had to be opened with a special jade key. Otherwise, it would burn from the inside out, destroying the intelligence. However, the box was lost after the emperor died. "Isn't this the box in my hands?" Chun Sansi felt relieved that he hadn't destroyed it with brute force. Otherwise, he would have truly lost a treasure. Skill. Reading, small achievement. Progress. 51/800. Utility. Quick-witted, spirit refreshed, photographic memory. The next day, Chin Sansi finally didn't have to travel far. After breakfast, he took a leisurely walk to the barracks, first practicing archery for a while, then practicing spear technique. When he estimated that the time was about right, he went to look for Su Bin. It was also a twist of fate that Su Bin was under Wang Ji's command as well, but after several rounds of searching, he didn't see him and had to ask other flag officers. "Old Su? Yesterday afternoon, I saw 100 households Wang beat him up, and then he disappeared. 100 households Wang? Chen Sansi was taken aback. He realized something. When the sparring happened yesterday, it was very possible that 100 households Wang chose Subin hoping he would throw the match. There's no need for that, he said. Chen Sansi was somewhat speechless. If he truly had thrown the match, it would have been of no benefit to either of them. He inquired about Subin's residence and then went to find him. Bin, have you lost your mind? Today, old Su had come from the town to bring a stewing hen for his pregnant daughter-in-law, and as soon as he entered, he saw the huge palm print on his son's face. Usually, Subin would go to the barracks to practice martial arts early in the morning, but today he hadn't moved even though it was near noon. He knew right away that something had happened. After some pressing inquiries, he finally understood the whole story. Little Stone is our fellow villager, and if he makes a name for himself in the future, it would only benefit you. How could you hit him with all your might? You deserve to be beaten. Deserve it indeed. Subin kept his head down, saying nothing. In fact, from the moment he was chosen for the assessment, he was stuck in a dilemma. If he had thrown the match, wouldn't Lord Thousand Households have seen through it? Not throwing the match would offend 100 households Wang. The only good outcome was to be treated with respect by the Lord Thousand Households. The result was obvious. He ended up with the worst possible outcome. Afterwards, Wang Ji found some pretext to slap him and demanded 20 taels of silver, threatening to beat him up every time he saw him if he didn't pay. All of his military pay went into practicing martial arts, and with his daily expenses, he had nothing left. Where would he find 20 taels of silver? Go find Little Stone, urged old Su. Hurry up, apologize to Little Stone, and ask him to smooth things over for you. Dad, it's useless, Subin said without any sense of hope. During the sparring match, he had gone all out to the point of killing. With swords and knives being blind, one could easily end up bleeding for real. If the other party simply didn't make things difficult for him in the future, that would already be a mercy. How could he expect him to speak on his behalf? Bang, bang, bang. The sound of knocking interrupted the father and son's conversation. Soon after, a warm and amiable voice could be heard. Is brother Bin home? It's me, Chen Sansi.
Chapter 33. Which God Sect?
After inquiring, Chen Sansi learned that he lived very close to Subin, only about a 5-minute walk away. He knocked on the door and announced his identity, and soon a young woman opened the door. Chen Sansi noticed the slight bulge in her abdomen. Is this Subin's home? Yes. The woman hurriedly called someone out. There came Subin, sporting a handprint on his face, and greeted awkwardly, Chen flag officer. He remembered that not long ago, he had requested the other to address him by his official title. How long had it been, and now everyone held the same rank. I really don't consider myself as an officer. Just calling me Rock, or by my name will do. Chen Sansi smiled and pulled out a slip from his sleeve. This is for you. This is. Upon seeing it was a weapon slip from the arsenal, Subin remembered he indeed had loaned out a bow and arrows before. What are you staring at? Apologize to Little Rock. Old Su came running out and kicked Subin on the buttocks. Subin's face turned red immediately. In the military camp, he never resorted to giving gifts or flattering others. He always proved himself through hard work. Bin, hurry up. Old Su was so anxious he was hopping. Without Rock's help, offending 100 households Wang, our whole family might end up unable to even eat. Subin felt his face burning, but seeing his wife's bulging stomach, he finally compromised. Flag Officer Chen, I've already said, no need to call me Flag Officer. Before he could finish, Chen Sansi interrupted. At the camp, we call each other by our ranks, but at home, there's no need to be so formal. If you don't mind, I'd still like to call you Brother Bin. What? Subin doubted his ears. You don't resent me? Why should I resent? Chen Sansi was candid. If it wasn't for borrowing the heavy bow, he wouldn't have so easily won the favor of the household officers, nor could he have built his chi blood so quickly. Admittedly, Subin's attitude might not have been the best. But help was help. The other could have completely refused to lend it. 100 households Wang is a bit. Chun Sansi couldn't compliment Wang Ji's character. Anyway, I'll speak with him, no worries. Right? I knew Little Rock was good-natured. How could he not help you? Old Su said, aren't you going to thank him now? Subin looked at the youth. In this world, not repaying kindness with enmity was already good. And here was someone willing to disregard past grievances, even calling him brother? Furthermore, for him it was really just a small effort. How could he face such decency? For some reason, when Subin looked at Chun Sansi again, he began to sense an indescribable aura about him that commanded respect. Respect might not be the exact word, but he couldn't think of a more fitting way to describe it at that moment. Swallowing his words, Subin finally simply offered a fist salute. From now on, anything you ask, I am at your disposal. Chun Sansi smiled. That's too much, but I do have a favor to ask of you. I'd like Brother Bin, whenever you're not busy, to spar with me on spear technique. I benefited a lot from our last exchange. At your service. Subin agreed instantly, but I really cannot accept this. He handed the slip back. I have a sword and that's enough. If you insist on giving me this, it means you still hold a grudge. All right. Chun Sansi didn't insist further. Little Rock, don't go, stay for dinner. Old Su insisted on not letting him leave. At noon, Chun Sansi and Gu Xinlan both stayed for a meal. Xinlan and Subin's wife, Lady Tong, got to know each other. And as both enjoyed needlework, they found a lot of common topics to discuss, hitting it off well, and even made plans to meet up in the future. Buzz! Halfway through the meal, the military camp sounded a rally call. Father, we have to go, Chun Sansi said. Subin hastily put on his armor and grabbed his sword. Chansher, hurry! What's happened? Chun Sansi purposely looked up at the sky but saw no signs of beacon smoke, indicating that there were no enemy attacks. When they arrived at the garrison, they were met by Lord Thousand Households, his face full of fury. Xiang Tingchun ordered in public, effective immediately, that half of the personnel within the households should search the city of Pyong daily for witch god sect followers, not sparing even the martial arts schools, and conduct strict searches of each. If any were found, they were to be charged with the crime of colluding with the enemy and treason. What was the witch god sect? Why even search the martial arts schools? Hadn't they just cooperated recently to surround and attack barbarian assassins? I'm not sure, he replied. Householder Xiong said, puzzled. All I know is that yesterday Lord Thousand Households and Luo Dongquan went to the Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy, and when they returned, he was furious, stating that they were all parasites of the court, and it was time they learned their lesson. Lord Thousand Households is probably preparing to let the local lords bleed a little, Households Commander Lu said, stroking his chin. Isn't he afraid of the higher-ups? It was a well-known fact that the Great Shang Court was heavily in debt. In earlier years, the garrison occasionally had delayed payments. On the other hand, the martial arts schools and local gentry were amassing wealth. The money in the hands of the hundreds of households was merely scraps between the lord's teeth. Nicely put, it was called a bribe. Harshly put, it was money thrown to beggars. Securing some wealth from the martial arts schools was naturally a good thing. But the problem was, if it was that simple, the court wouldn't have been so hard-pressed. The martial arts schools and local gentry included many who had retired from positions in the court. Some were blatantly businesses owned by current court officials. Who would dare touch them? On the surface, it seemed that their households wielded the greatest authority. In reality, which martial arts school didn't have connections with people in the prefecture or state offices? The actions of Xiang Tingchun were difficult for them to understand. Unless Xiang Tingchun has some leverage over them, Chun Sansi thought, though he did not voice it, and he was right. These people had been hiding from the court while searching for the immortal treasure. Xiang Tingchun had planned to use this matter to blackmail the martial arts schools, but it seemed the talks had broken down. Move out. 500 households, leading over 400 soldiers, marched out of the garrison mightily. Chun Sansi and his subordinates were among them. Wang Ji was not present, and two flag leaders led them instead. One surnamed Miao, the other surnamed Fong. Flag leader Fong. Chun Sansi asked, wasn't it barbarian assassins before? How did it become the witch god sect? Flag leader Fong shook his head. That night, the masked persons who suddenly appeared and rescued the assassin were said to be from the witch god sect. Supposedly very notorious villains. That's all I know. I know about this, I know. Su Wenkai rushed over excitedly raising his hand. Mister. Su knows. Chun Sansi said, please tell us. Ahem. Su Wenkai cleared his throat and began seriously. This witch god sect, it originated from the barbarian tribes and has a history of 200 years. However, it declined long ago. Just about 10 years ago, they suddenly became active again and even supported the Yuan tribe to swallow up 3 tribes on the grasslands in one fell swoop, transforming from a small tribe into one of the 4 hegemons. These years, the barbarians who have been harassing the borders of Shang are mainly from the Yuan tribe, with the other 3 hegemons mostly watching from the sidelines. You seem to know quite a lot. Zhu Tong was half skeptical. You aren't making this up, right? Tui. Su Wenkai proudly stated. I traveled everywhere in my early years. You think I did that for nothing? No wonder you weren't at home even when your father died a few years ago, Zhu Tong said bluntly. Su Wenkai turned dark and fell silent. Which god sect? Yuan tribe? Border? Immortal treasure? Chun Sansi connected the dots and realized it seemed to be a matter of great significance. Following their entry into the city, the 500 soldiers began a house-to-house search. However, they temporarily did not search the 4 great martial arts schools and other top-tier halls, focusing primarily on the smaller and lesser-known ones. This was Xiang Tingchun making an example of the smaller entities. The search continued until dusk, and they then left without any conflicts. But this was just the beginning. After wasting an afternoon, Chun Sansi went straight to the arsenal upon returning to the households, intending to exchange the weapon slip and then get a bowl of blood-replenishing soup. Chapter 34 Mastery of Spear Technique. The weapon was not needed by Su Bin, of course it could not be wasted. Conveniently, the plum blossom spear in Chun Sansi's hand was too common. Although it did not drag down his abilities, it also did not offer any enhancement. In the arsenal, various types of weapons filled the racks. Most were standard issue. A small portion was fine weapons made by military officers, among which spears were the scarcest with only 2 or 3 varieties available. Chun Sansi's gaze fell on a long spear in the center of the last row. This spear was about 4 meters long, with a slim, reed-leaf-shaped head, a red tassel following the blade, and a shaft slightly thicker than the plum blossom spears. Also made of white waxwood but wrapped in bamboo strips after being oiled, coated in black lacquer, with a conical spear but at the end. This spear is called the reed leaf spear, the arsenal keeper introduced. It was left behind by 100 households from before, and has been gathering dust here ever since. If Chun Chigu fancies it, you're welcome to take it. Thank you. Chun Sansi took the long spear, weighing it in his hands, approximately 20 or 30 pounds, and began to practice with it immediately outside the arsenal. The spear technique that came with the soldier training was fundamentally a long weapon style. Wielding the reed leaf spear, his spear technique became even more adept. After practicing for roughly half an hour, signs of chi blood deficiency emerged. Martial arts really is a bottomless pit. Chun Sansi, carrying the spear, left. Not far from the arsenal was a pharmacy. From a distance, one could catch the scent of the medicinal herbs. The pharmacy was quiet, home to only an old man, 2 errand boys, and several jars simmering with content. Elder, I've come to get some blood-replenishing soup. Chun Sansi passed over a slip. The old man took the slip. Have you trained out your chi blood? If you haven't trained out your chi blood, you shouldn't drink the blood-replenishing soup. Chun Sansi, who had never encountered supplemental medicine, was clueless. Is that so? Of course. The old man stroked his beard and explained. All medicine carries a certain toxicity. Only martial artists who have trained out their chi blood can expel the poisons through sweat during training. Otherwise, drinking too much can lead to poisoning, eventually rotting the internal organs and rendering a person useless. Chun Sansi nodded to indicate he had indeed trained out his chi blood. That's good, then. Only then did the old man accept the slip, rising to select the appropriate herbs to concoct the medicine on the spot. While waiting, the two introduced themselves to each other. This old man's surname was Jiang, a hereditary medical officer in the garrison without any rank. After waiting quietly for half an hour, Chun Sansi held a bowl of blackish soup in his hands. He took a sip and almost retched right then. The taste was not only bitter and astringent, but also carried the faint stench of a sewage ditch. No wonder it was toxic. After drinking, it wasn't like the bare heart where chi blood would boil instantly. Instead, there seemed to be a foreign substance in his abdomen, causing slight discomfort. This must be the medicinal strength, which needed training to digest. Medical Officer Jiang said, "Next time, if you want to have some blood-replenishing soup, tell me in advance so you won't have to wait when you come." "All right." Chun Sansi's allowance was a bowl of blood-replenishing soup every 3 days, and he curiously asked, "Medical Officer Jiang, if I run out of my allowance, is there any other way I can get the medicine?" "Buy it." Using a fan to control the heat, Medical Officer Jiang explained, "But you wouldn't be buying from me. You'd have to go to the pharmacy opened by the martial arts hall outside. The ingredients for 1 dose of blood-replenishing soup cost 10 taels of silver, and you can probably brew 2 bowls from it." "How much?" Chun Sansi was stunned. A bare heart was worth about 20 taels of silver. 10 taels of silver could support an ordinary family for a year during a bumper harvest. And yet it could only be exchanged for 2 bowls of medicine? Anything that can enhance cultivation isn't made from ordinary herbs. They usually take at least 10 to 8 years to grow and are very rare. Can they not be expensive? But that's only part of it. Medical Officer Jiang patiently continued, "The main reason is the monopoly." "Monopoly?" Chun Sansi inquired. "Are you referring to the martial arts hall?" "Correct." Medical Officer Jiang, exhaling deeply, said leisurely, "Medicinal herbs used specifically for enhancing cultivation are extremely demanding in terms of growing conditions. There's only so much suitable land for medicine gardens, and most of it has been sold to the martial arts halls. Can they not be expensive? Why sell it?" Chun Sansi was somewhat puzzled. This was, after all, an absolute strategic resource. Dr. Jiang chuckled as he spoke. "What else could it be for? The officials are short on money. I heard from my father that when he was younger, our garrison's medicine garden had more than 200 plots scattered around. Then came a change in the county magistrate, who sold off a part of the land. After several decades, isn't it all gone? Kid, you are new and wouldn't know. Back in the day, not only salaries were owed but also medicine. Many people left, preferring to hide their identities as house slaves for major sects in the prefectures and states rather than stay in the garrison. If it weren't for Elder Yan's reforms, reclaiming some of the land, you wouldn't have had any medicine to drink. But most of it is still firmly in the hands of the martial arts halls. Not even the 100 households officers can get as much as they want whenever they want." "Exaggerated," Chun Sansi summarized with 2 words. The corruption had reached such a degree that he doubted the court would last much longer. No wonder Xiang Tingchun wanted to do something but had to resort to extortion. Still, it wasn't guaranteed to work. He took his leave and returned to the martial arts arena. The reed leaf gun swirled in motion. Pile work, spear technique, breathing skill, combined with chi blood circulation, his body began to operate under high stress. It was at these times that the medicinal effects were most apparent. Whenever the chi blood was trained to near depletion, the medicine would start to transform, stimulating every organ in the body, accelerating the refinement of chi blood in a continual cycle until a second thread of chi blood was born. That was the entry into blood-refining mastery. After performing several sets of spear techniques, Chun Sansi was covered with foul sweat, but his proficiency made great strides. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before he mastered the spear technique. Moreover, the power of that bowl of medicine was still present, not yet fully utilized. It would be enough for at least 2 more days of practice. "My cultivation level is still low. One bowl of medicine every 3 days is just enough for now. There's also no need for me to spend money to buy more. And if I buy some beast meat in between, I can push my training to the limit. Time to eat. It was getting dark, and Chun Sansi packed up his things and went home. The meal was prepared early at home. As soon as he entered, Sister Lan helped him remove his armor, fetch water, and after eating, boiled water for washing his feet. A comfortable and smooth routine. Right? Gu Xinlan held the wooden basin. Someone came to see you today, hoping to invite you to be a guest tomorrow. Chun Sansi asked. Who? Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy. After pouring out the water for washing his feet, Gu Xinlan began to massage Chun Sansi. It sounds like a luxurious place, like the Spring Pavilion, if I remember correctly. Qin Xiong's younger brother seems to be training at Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy. Right? Chun Sansi lay on the bed, pondering the reason Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy was looking for him. Qin Feng? It was possible, but not very likely. Now that he was a Shenfeng flag officer, his identity would be directly recorded at the governor mansion. Unless it might also be because of the immortal treasure. The incident with the immortal treasure was entirely coincidental. He never expected to run into the barbarian before going out to kill Qin Feng. The Liang family's young master might suspect he had obtained the immortal treasure. Fortunately, the other party was also speculating, without any substantive evidence. Moreover, since the martial arts hall and the military were not getting along well, they wouldn't dare do anything to him at this juncture. However, he did need to speed up enhancing his power. In the future, if they come again, just directly reject them. In the following days, aside from patrolling the city, Chun Sansi invested all his remaining energy into martial arts training. Blood-replenishing soup, beast meat, along with Su Bin's sparring far exceeded his expectations. 6 days later, he successfully made a breakthrough. Ha! An exhausted Chun Sansi planted the gun but into the ground, feeling a second surge of hot blood flowing within him. No, it was different from others. The chi blood in his body wasn't threads, but streams. Cultivation technique. Basic soldier's spear technique. Expert. Progress. 0/1000. Utility. Gun movement swift. Amazing endurance. Robust chi blood. Chapter 35. Coming. Normally, bringing forth a strand of chi blood is considered entry-level. Mastering the second strand. For the average martial artist, chi blood is only as thick as a thin rope. However, the chi blood that Chun Sansi cultivated is equivalent to several thin ropes twisted together, 2 to 3 times more than that of an ordinary person. This must be credited to the Hao Ran breathing skill, but undoubtedly, the proficiency panel also plays a part. His endurance is already impressive, and now that his chi blood has become even more robust, he is a perfect fit for the battlefield. A battlefield is not about one-on-one duels where killing an opponent ends the fight. Rather, it's about facing countless enemies in what are mostly battles of attrition. This is also where the military formations come into play. When a martial artist with blood refining great success, roughly the level of a flag leader, is confronted by well-trained array soldiers on the battlefield and gets trapped in a formation, they will typically exhaust their chi blood after slaying about 20 or so enemies and consequently collapse from depletion, only to be hacked to death by the chaotic blades. It's not because the martial artist is weak, but rather because the formations are strong. During the recent drills, Chun Sansi took special care to learn alongside the others, taking a small military formation of 100 men as an example. Before close combat with bare blades, archers and crossbowmen first unleash a volley of arrows, followed by spearmen thrusting, then shield and sword fighters encircling, and finally hand-to-hand combat ensues. Don't forget that the enemy also has generals. It's not just you as a military officer. In such a scenario, no matter how high your rank as a martial artist, once you run out of manpower, you are bound to be worn down to death, unless your chi blood is truly very enduring. However, all of this is still too early for Chun Sansi to worry about. He won't be going to the battlefield anytime soon. You've mastered your chi blood? Subin stood frozen on the spot, motionless for a long time. How many days has it been? If this continues, it won't be long before you surpass me. It's all thanks to Su flag officers sparring with me. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been this fast. After his breakthrough, Chun Sansi felt invigorated. But he didn't let his guard down mentally. Lately, the Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy has sent people to invite him several times, all of which were declined. He was aware that this could not be a long-term solution and that the issue needed to be addressed sooner or later. Young Master Liang Zhan of Tianyuan was at the Bone Training Realm, and the Martial Arts Hall Master was even at Bone Forger great success. Blood refining was still at the bottom rank of martial artists, not even worth mentioning. If he could become a refining organ martial artist like Xiang Tingchun, who in Piyang County would dare to provoke him? Time for work. Time for work. It was almost time to patrol the city. Chun Sansi put away his reed leaf gun and called his men. Not only had he made a breakthrough, but his men had also improved. Zhu Tong had cultivated his chi blood in the past 2 days, and a military soldier named Wang Li would not be far behind, while the other 5 array soldiers had also learned the spear technique and started practicing military formations. Only Su Wen Kai was unable to do anything. The other day he got kicked while feeding the horses, and fearing that he might die under their hooves, he was not asked to go again. Let's go, patrol the city. Ever since the Witch God sect incident occurred, people were dying daily within and outside the city. Rumors claimed that the Witch God sect was bloodthirsty by nature. Hence, the recent crackdowns have been extremely stringent. Yet, despite this, no disciples from any martial arts academy were allowed to participate. Clearly, the Lord Thousand Households wanted to seize the immortal treasure before the martial arts academies, and then use it to coerce all the martial arts halls in Piyang County. Chun Sansi took his city patrols very seriously, attempting to locate traces of Witch God's sect followers. Unfortunately, he hasn't found any leads so far. And even if he did find them, his current strength probably wouldn't be enough to seize the items. So cultivating remains the most important thing. After advancing his chi blood to 2 strands, a bowl of blood-replenishing soup every 3 days would most likely not suffice. During a break in his patrols, Chan Sansi went to the Martial Arts Academy to purchase medicines. Zhu Tong accompanied him as well. Having some savings from slaughtering pigs at home, he too gathered enough money for medicine to speed up his blood refining. Among the 4 great martial arts schools, Yunhe Martial Arts Hall and Zhao's Martial Arts Academy had the largest business in medicinal materials, comprising 2/3 of Piyang County's trade. Among them, the quality of medicines from Yunhe Martial Arts Hall was the best. Arriving at Guesiang Street, Chun Sansi saw 2 Yunhe medicine stores. To be precise, one of them was the Yunhe Medicine Shop. It gives one the impression of Sprite and Thunderbolt, but in fact both are genuine. Lately patrolling the city, he had often heard news about the martial arts halls. After the county magistrate passed away, barbarian assassins killed the master of Yunhe Martial Arts Hall, leading to its split. It said that the young master of Yunhe Martial Arts Hall had mediocre talent at nearly 30 years old. He hadn't yet entered the bone training realm, while his uncle had made small achievement in that realm. After the old master's death, he took away his nephew's right to succession and became the new hall master. Not only that, but he also kicked his nephew out with a single kick, leaving him only a group of insignificant servant disciples and a medicine shop. Since he was not allowed to use the original name, he had to settle for Yunhe. To compete, Yunhe Medicine Shop even offered discounts. Blood-replenishing soup, which would normally cost 10 taels, was only sold for 8. More advanced than blood-replenishing soup were the 9 revolutions replenishing essence soup and the medicine baths required for the bone training realm, which were also essentially discounted to 70 or 80% of their original price, but still outrageously expensive. 9 revolutions replenishing essence soup would cost 25 taels for 1 dose. Chun Sansi simply couldn't afford that. He had saved up 20 taels from hunting black bears and obtained 10 from killing Chin Fong, but his daily expenses were also high. He couldn't go without various exotic beast meats, leaving him hardly any silver left. In the end, Chun Sansi bought 2 doses of medicine, spending 16 taels. There goes my savings. Chun Sansi felt like his heart was bleeding, and those 2 doses of medicine would last only about a week. It seems that he still had to rely on his hunting skills to make big money. Fortunately, as a flag officer, he could freely venture deep into Second Layer Mountain. Hunting something valuable shouldn't be too difficult. It would only mean some delay in his martial arts training, but that was a necessary sacrifice. He had heard that a tiger could sell for 100 taels of silver. An exotic beast would be even more expensive. Exotic beasts were rare, but there were frequent tales of big worms on Second Layer Mountain. He would inquire about it, and if he could hunt down a tiger, the silver he earned would be enough to quickly reach small achievement. Back in the military camp, Chun Sansi saw 100 households Wang, who had been missing for a few days. The latter claimed he had gone to the prefecture city to visit relatives, and was very pleased to learn of his breakthrough to expertise. Good, you're doing well, kid. You've got the style I had back in my day. Wang Ji fumbled in his bosom and pulled out a golden lock. This is for you, as a reward for your diligent practice. A longevity lock? Chun Sansi knew about this object, typically given by elders in the family to young children. Wang Ji's willingness to give it away meant it definitely wasn't his own, and it was very likely swindled from someone else. Thank you for the kind gesture, but I'd better not accept it. He declined. If you don't want it, forget it. Where is there such a good superior like me, willing to buy gold for subordinates? 100 households Wang wore it around his own neck. You're asking for leave to go up the mountain tomorrow, right? Go on. Thank you, sir. Chun Sansi took his leave, and as he was almost at his front door, 2 figures suddenly appeared, blocking the road ahead, one in front and one behind, old and young, resembling a master-servant relationship. Flag Officer Chun, I had invited you several times without success, so I took the liberty to visit. Please excuse my presumption, said Liang Zhan as he held his folding fan and bowed with clasped hands. Please honor us with your presence at the spring pavilion for a gathering. Plenty of beautiful women and wine. You are quite presumptuous. Chun Sansi spoke indifferently. I have matters to attend to, so I won't trouble Mr. Liang with the expense. I have no malicious intent. Liang Zhan stepped forward, lowering his voice. Rest assured, the matter with the Qin brothers won't be pursued by Tianyuan Martial Arts Academy. What Qin brothers? Chun Sansi said blankly. I don't understand. The other party might indeed not pursue the matter with Qin Feng, but it's more likely that they wanted to use this to get him talking, to ask if he had left the city that night, to see if he had any chance of coming into contact with the immortal treasure. Flag Officer Chun really is a master at playing dumb. Liang Zhan's smile didn't reach his eyes, and he gave a sign to the old servant behind him. But I still hope you can grace us with your presence for a meal. Please. The old servant extended a pair of withered tree branch-like hands, reaching out to grab him. Chun Sansi's brows furrowed, his grip tightening on his spear. Chapter 36. Redeeming Sins Through Meritorious Service. Oh, isn't that Mr. Liang? Before Chun Sansi could make a move, a sharp voice rang out. Wang Ji stood in front of the old servant and cheerfully said, What wind has blown such an honored guest our way? Forgive me for not receiving you from afar. May I ask what brings Mr. Liang here? Chun Sansi interjected. Mr. Liang was thinking of inviting me to the spring pavilion. Really? Upon hearing this, Wang Ji burst into joy, his small eyes squeezing into slits. Mr. Liang, that's not fair. Why invite Sansi and not me? Let's go together. Damn. Liang Zhan hastily retreated, squeezing out an awkward smile. 100 households Wang. Actually, I just wanted to inquire about something. And since Chun Chigu is busy, we should reschedule. He then attempted to leave. Wang Ji stepped forward and grasped his shoulder. He's busy, but I'm not. Let's go. I've heard that the spring pavilion recently got some fresh girls. So tender. 100 households Wang. Liang Zhan struggled to free himself. Ah, I just remembered. I also have something urgent. I must go. Wang Ji's face fell. Has Mr. Liang grown distant from me? Not at all. Liang Zhan took out a silver ingot weighing 5 taels from his sleeve. Truly, I have urgent matters, but next time for sure. He stuffed the money into Wang Ji's hands and then hurriedly grabbed his servant to flee. Nearly lost 20 taels of silver. After confirming that no one had followed them, Liang Zhan sighed in relief. At the tavern, this fatty Wang wouldn't hold back. He'd order anything expensive, and even with a large family business, Mr. Liang couldn't afford to throw money around unnecessarily. Master, the old servant asked, are we just letting this go? Guess what I just saw? Liang Zhan gestured around his neck. That kid Qin Feng's longevity lock has ended up around Fatty Wang's neck. This has nothing to do with the Chens. Oh, the old servant said in surprise. Could 100 households Wang have come into contact with the immortal treasure?
No.
Liang Zhan analyzed. If he had acquired the immortal treasure, would he dare to show off the longevity lock so blatantly? It seems my previous worries were unfounded. The immortal treasure has indeed been stolen by the people of the witch god sect. Uncle Wu, we must hasten. Exhaust all means to find the immortal treasure before Xiang Tingchun does, or else we'll have to spend a fortune to buy it. Don't worry, master. The old servant bowed. The trustworthy disciples from the Martial Arts Academy have all been sent out. This Mr. Liang is getting tighter with his money. Huh? I'm giving this to you. Wang Ji was about to throw the silver ingot to Chun Sansi, then stopped midway and changed it for 2 taels in smaller denominations. Split 50-50. Chun Sansi wanted no less, and pocketed the money. What did he want from you? Wang Ji's narrowed eyes gleamed, clutching the golden lock around his neck. It was about that kid? What's his name? Qin something? I'm not sure. Chun Sansi feigned confusion. He hadn't expected the golden lock to belong to Qin Feng. No wonder Liang Zhan had glanced at it several times just now. Qin Feng's death could likely not be concealed much longer. But in fact, as long as it didn't involve the immortal treasure, no one would trouble him over the death of a Qin Feng. Ha! You don't trust me? Wang Ji found it amusing. Do you remember what I told you before? No need to be overly cautious about such matters. If you killed someone, you killed someone, what's there to fear? With me here, no one dares to touch you. Chun Sansi conservatively said, I really don't know. Some things, even when both parties well understand, it's still best not to articulate them. Look at you guarding against others. All right, let's not hide things anymore, lest you always suspect I have designs against you. Wang Ji suddenly turned serious. In Piyang County, no matter whom you offend, I will help you, even if it's household's Commander Xiang. I have but one request of you. Should the day come when you can enter the 8 camps and become a personal disciple of the Lord Governor, I only ask you to convey a message for me. Tell the Lord Governor that I, Wang Ji, wish to make amends through meritorious deeds. I only ask for a chance from the Lord Governor, even if it's to be a coachman or to face death. I want to die in the 8 camps. Chun Sansi had indeed heard some rumors in the military camp, such as Wang Ji coming from the 8 camps and even knowing some high officials there. But, making amends through meritorious deeds, that phrase sounded quite severe. Given that Wang Ji was 100 households, his realm would not exceed bone training. A bone training martial artist, how grave a crime could he have committed to talk about making amends through meritorious deeds? And it sounded as if he was quite familiar with Commander Sun before. Alas, since the other party had already said so much, Chun Sansi also had to take a stand. He solemnly said, 100 households Wang, rest assured, if I really live up to expectations and enter the 8 camps to meet Commander Sun, I will surely deliver the message no matter what. Good, good. Wang Ji nodded repeatedly. From now on, don't call me 100 households. Just call me Fatty since we're brothers. Is that appropriate? Chun Sansi asked. Pretentious. Why wouldn't it be? Wang Ji cursed, waving his sleeve as he left. If those from the Liang family come looking for trouble again, let me know. I'll cover my face at night and take care of him for you. At this moment, as Chun Sansi watched Fatty's hefty back, why did he feel that the phrases greedy as life and cunning villain seemed somewhat out of place when applied to him? Of course, one shouldn't judge a book by its cover, nor should one easily believe what others say on the surface. Actions are what truly matter. He stopped pondering and went home to consider tomorrow's hunting. Improving his strength was urgent. This feeling of being approached at home was something Chun Sansi did not want to experience again. Lion. If he could hunt a lion, it would be very useful for a long time. Tomorrow he would go back to Yanbian village and ask Uncle Zhao. Although they did not have the strength to hunt lions, having roamed the mountains for years, they surely knew where to find one. Although he possessed tracking skills, he still needed a rough area, or else how long would it take to search the vast Huda mountain range? After dinner, Chun Sansi also prepared and drank some blood-replenishing soup, practicing until late into the night before resting. The next day, Chun Sansi rose early. Going to Yanbian village was not close, and he wanted to ride a horse to save time. He failed again. This horse was fiercely defiant, utterly refusing to be subdued and continuously acting up. Fortunately, his proficiency had increased quite a bit. Skill: horse control, entry level. Progress: 75 out of 100. Utility: none. After one or two more tries, he would enter the initial stage of horse control skill, surely subduing it then. Having a means of transportation was crucial. Leaving the military camp, he went straight to Yanbian village. You want to hunt tigers? Zhao Qiao, Wu De, and Zhuang Yi were all there, ready to team up to hunt wolves. Yes. Chun Sansi nodded. Uncle Zhao is an experienced hunter. He surely knows. Okay. Let's go up the mountain together. The group of 4 arrived at the creek at the border between the north and south peaks of Huta Mountain. Zhao Qiao pointed toward the southwest direction. 5 years ago, old Lu from the village saw a big worm in a cave 20 miles in this direction. He was so frightened that he wet his pants on the spot. Luckily, he wasn't discovered and managed to run back. However, I'm not sure if the big worm is still there now. Thank you, Uncle Zhao. Chun Sansi bowed his hands, ready to cross the creek. From afar, he could already see the traces left by animals in the forest on the other side. All silver. Zhao Qiao and the other 2 stood there, eagerly watching him. Uncle Zhao. Chun Sansi knew they were having a hard time. How about we do it together? Not at all, not at all. Zhao Qiao waved his hands repeatedly. Black Bear almost took our lives, let alone Big Worm. We would only be holding you back, we dare not go. Little Stone, you be careful too. Big Worm is even more dangerous than Black Bear. Uncle Zhao. Wu De looked longingly at the lush forest on the other side. What if we also go over there? Not to hunt tigers, but even hunting a mountain goat would be good. Are you crazy? Zhao Qiao chided. Have you forgotten how old Lu died? He ran over there to hunt because he couldn't survive 3 years ago, ended up shooting a deer, but the Martial Arts Academy disciples coveted it and wanted to snatch it. Those people didn't want to pay for it and shot him full of arrows. If I hadn't risked going over, you wouldn't even see his body. Just because one couldn't survive and went hunting on the other side, did that mean one deserved to die? Chun Sansi felt heartbroken. He dared not urge further. He could go to the other side without issue, but since he wasn't a high-ranking official, if something happened to Uncle Zhao and the others, it wouldn't be worth it. After saying goodbye to the 3 men, Chun Sansi, carrying a bow and arrow and holding a gun, leaped over the creek and plunged into the dense jungle. Chapter 37: Hunting Tigers. North of Second Layer Mountain. Chun Sansi's track concealment was fully activated, with no trace escaping his notice. Rabbits, roe deer, goats. If he wished, within 10 minutes he could be carrying a goat down the mountain to his home. But a wild goat of around 100 pounds could only sell for 2 pieces of silver. That might have been fine before, but now it was too little. His target was a tiger or at the very least a black bear or a leopard, some kind of fierce beast. Following Zhao Qiao's suggestion, Chun Sansi headed toward the southwest. Along the way, He occasionally encountered martial arts academy disciples adorned in brocade robes. To avoid unnecessary trouble, Chun Sansi wore cloth armor this time up the mountain. Seeing his armor and heavy bow, the disciples indeed dared not provoke him, and mostly went about their own business after a glance or two. Why are there so many people? Chun Sansi traveled 5 miles and encountered at least a dozen people. Even for hunting, they shouldn't appear in such dense numbers. Moreover, many of them didn't even carry bows and arrows. Instead, they roamed back and forth with knives or swords, appearing as if they were searching for something. Which god sect? It didn't seem like it, because these people looked relaxed and most of them were dressed as disciples of the Tai Lei Martial Arts Academy. Chun Sansi took notice. A gust of wind blew, and with his exceptional hearing, he overheard the conversations of the Martial Arts Academy disciples. White deer. The master is injured. Whoever finds the white deer will be rewarded with property. It's tough. I heard the white deer likes to eat medicinal herbs, and those herbs alone cost at least a dozen pieces of silver. Chun Sansi figured out what was going on. The night Qin Feng died, a battle had broken out in the city. Xiang Tingchun and the masters of the 3 big martial arts halls were arresting barbarian assassins when they encountered the witch god sect. Master Tai Lei was seriously injured and needed an exotic beast, the white deer, for healing. Thus, a reward was offered. No matter the level of the disciple, anyone who could present the white deer would be immediately taken as a core true inheritor and also manage a portion of the properties in the future, which is why they were running into the mountains like headless chickens. Chun Sansi made a mental note of the exotic beast's characteristics and continued to hurry forward. Tai Lei Martial Arts Academy. He hadn't seen Zhang Chao and his companion. Otherwise, he would have shot a few arrows at them regardless. After traveling another dozen miles, he arrived at the midsection of a mountain peak. At the side of the winding and narrow path stood 2 Martial Arts Academy disciples with bows on their backs, one of whom had a bow that Chun Sansi estimated was a 7-strength bow, already considered forbidden weaponry. Holding iron swords, they looked ahead with hesitant expressions and were reluctant to move forward. Chun Sansi ignored the 2 of them. Hey! A Martial Arts Academy disciple called out to him. You dare to go forward? There's a big worm inside this peak. I know. Chun Sansi answered perfunctorily, showing no intention of stopping. You're still going? Aren't you afraid of death? The Martial Arts Academy disciple noticed the big bow on the newcomer's back and his eyes lit up. He looked at his companion with the prohibited 7-strength bow and, getting his approval, proposed, How about we cooperate? The brother Wei next to me is a blood-refining warrior with small achievement. They had discovered the presence of a tiger on this peak only in recent days. But due to the court's ban on heavy bows and their limited cultivation, they wouldn't normally dare to provoke it. Wei Su took the risk of acquiring a 7-strength bow, but was still not very confident he could take down the big worm. Close contact with the beast would be more than a blood-refining warrior could withstand. Finding someone carrying a 2-stone bow was an unexpected surprise. Brother, Wei Su, full of confidence, said, I have blood-refining minor success, and with our combined strength, taking down the big worm will be a piece of cake. Once successful, we'll split the proceeds. 60-40. I'll take 60, you take 40. How about it? Chun Sansi frowned upon hearing this and, uninterested in further engagement, quickened his pace. Question mark. Wei Su was staggered, clearly not expecting to be treated as if he didn't exist. Arrogant. Brother Wei, he doesn't want to cooperate. So what do we do? His junior asked. I've glimpsed that big worm from afar once. It's incredibly formidable. Where does he get his confidence from? Wei Su said angrily, Let's follow and see. Maybe the big worm will eat him, and we can take advantage at the rear. Someone else has their eyes on this big worm. If I had come 2 days later, I might have missed my chance. Chun Sansi crouched on the ground, scooped up a handful of dirt, and from it extracted 2 rather stiff orange hairs, followed by claw marks, buried feces, and dried bloodstains in the grass. He knew this process by heart. Like following a thread, he traced it to a hidden cave halfway up the mountain. The cave, with a diameter of roughly 5 meters, was concealed by dense grass and branches, easily overlooked if not examined closely. About 20 zhang from the cave's entrance, amidst the thickets, one could vaguely see rotting clothing and chilling white bones. It seemed the deceased had been there for some time. 99% sure the big worm lives inside. Of course, Chun Sansi would not foolishly charge in. In the confined space, the advantages of bows and long spears disappeared, so he needed to find a way to lure the big worm out. Whoosh! Chun Sansi suddenly turned and loosed an arrow. 100 paces away, a passing roe deer got grazed by the precise shot, leaving behind a trail of blood. Hiss! The foolish roe deer let out a piercing scream. Whoosh! Another arrow shot, landing near its feet. Startled, the roe deer bolted towards the cave's direction. Chun Sansi had deliberately not killed it. His experience hunting black bears had taught him that a dead lure might not attract the game. But a live one was different. Predators like tigers, with their strong territorial instincts, wouldn't allow any infringements. A creature carrying the scent of fresh blood running around and calling out on its territory was certainly not something the big worm would tolerate. Chun Sansi climbed up a tree to a vantage point, then continually prevented the roe deer from leaving the vicinity with arrows, forcing it to stay near the cave, its wounds bleeding as it ran chaotically. The process went on for a full 5 minutes, the huge commotion scaring away the birds in the woods, but the pitch-black cave remained eerily silent. Ineffective? Shouldn't be. Tigers are ferocious and murderous. They usually don't hold back. Just as Chun Shanshir was considering other approaches, a gloomy wind swept through the mountains. Wind follows the tiger, clouds follow the dragon. Here it comes. A robust shadow, as mighty as a mountain yet as nimble as a leopard, burst out of the silent cave. In the blink of an eye, it pinned the roe deer to the ground, its sharp fangs accurately clamping down on the carotid artery. After a few feeble struggles, the roe deer became a lifeless body. What a majestic king of the mountains! Chun Sansi focused his gaze. The tiger was more than 10 feet in length, weighing no less than 700 or 800 catties, its golden fur dazzling in the sunlight, and its saber-like claws dripping with blood. Its orange-yellow pupils emitted a fierce light, letting out a roar that shook the area for miles. No wonder ordinary people would be petrified at the sight. After hunting the roe deer, the big worm did not rush to feast, apparently not hungry, purely bothered by the noise. It grabbed its prey, intending to drag it back inside the cave. Right at that moment, Chun Sansi's 2-stone bow was drawn taut as a full moon. A wolf-teeth arrow whistled through the air. Bang! The arrow collided with the tiger's skull, making a dull sound, and got firmly stuck, piercing through the bone but failing to reach the brainstem and deliver a fatal blow. Such a tiger must be close to an exotic beast. Roar! In pain, the big worm roared and with a swipe of its paw broke off the arrow shaft in its forehead. Then, with a gust of gale, charged towards the direction of its attacker. Chapter 38 No More Fear. Only by witnessing a big worm charging at oneself could one truly grasp the sheer force of a tiger descending the mountain. Chun Sansi remained unflustered and calmly drew his bow and affixed an arrow. Another arrow. This time he chose the tiger's most vulnerable spot, its eyes, as his target. The mighty rush of the ferocious tiger was as fast as lightning, and its intimidating presence made aiming at its moving eyes as difficult as achieving the feat of 100-step piercing. Yet, Chun Sansi was someone who could accomplish 100-step piercing. Roar! A deep, organ-shaking wail echoed as the arrow blinded the tiger's left eye. Whoosh! Next was the right eye. The tiger's both eyes were blinded, its white whiskers stained red with blood. What was terrifying was that despite such pain, it still didn't stop its charge. With its last bit of vision, it leaped and climbed up a tree in a matter of seconds, determined to tear its attacker to pieces. A tiger can absolutely climb a tree. Chun Sansi had prepared for this. He jumped to an adjacent tree a step ahead, while not forgetting to turn around and shoot another arrow. The fight of a trapped beast is particularly fearsome. The big worm appeared to be still alive, but it wouldn't last much longer. He just had to delay. Patience was key. Reliant on its remaining sense of hearing to gauge location, the tiger followed with a leap of its own. Chun Sansi shifted trees and shot arrows, and the big worm was struck by the arrows. This cycle repeated several times. Regardless of the tiger's vigor, it was but a beast in the end. Riddled with arrows and blind, it soon could not hold on any longer and fell from the tree 10 meters high. Once it lost its ferocious breath of life, the big worm could no longer bear the pain. It struggled wildly, spinning in place while swinging its claws and fangs, its blood painting a scarlet trail on the muddy ground. It was over. Chun Sansi was about to end the hunt when he detected the sound of rapidly approaching footsteps with a twitch of his ears. The two martial arts academy disciples from before appeared. "Brother, let me help you kill this beast," said Wei Su, drawing his sword and rushing over. At this point, the mighty tiger was at its last gasp, barely a hit away from death. Assistance was unwarranted. It was clear that they only wanted to help as a pretext to claim a share of the spoils. "Get lost!" Chun Sansi was sparing with words, and in an instant he shot an arrow from his Kaiyuan bow. A gust of cold air brushed against Wei Su's neck, causing him to freeze in place, unable to move for a long time. Only when hot blood trailed down his neck and soaked into his collar did he realize the danger he had narrowly escaped. It was a close shave. He was inches away from having his artery penetrated by the arrow. "Elder brother." His junior brother at his side was similarly terrified. How could this man be so ruthless? They only wanted a piece of the action, some silver for their troubles. They never intended to harm anyone. Yet this fellow greeted them with an arrow right off. And what a swift arrow it was. All they saw was his hand reaching into his arrow bag at his waist. And in the next second, the arrow came flying at them. Wei Su clutched at the wound on his neck, retreating continuously. He didn't dare advance another step. Fight back? He wasn't blind. If this young man could nearly kill the big worm, couldn't he easily kill him as well? Up in the tree. Once Chun Sansi had intimidated them, he stowed his bow and arrows and wielded his reed leaf spear in a reverse grip. His arms, muscled and lined like entwining snakes, poised the spear tip toward the tiger's head, and he descended from the heavens. Hiss! The sharp spearhead penetrated the tiger's head, pinning it to the ground as he knelt on the tiger's body. He felt its life force rapidly ebbing away until it stilled completely before withdrawing the bloodied spear. Having dealt with the big worm, Chun Sansi then dragged over the previously killed roe deer, hefting both prizes on his shoulders. Not quite 1,000 pounds. No big deal for a martial artist skilled in blood refining. It was only at this moment that Wei Su came back to his senses. As they watched the youth carrying the body of the mighty tiger, they kept retreating to maintain a safe distance, speaking hesitantly. "Who are you, to act so domineeringly?" "I'm merely a small flag in the army." Chun Sansi was not afraid at all. All that mattered was strength. If these two really dared to retaliate, they'd be shot dead before they could even raise their hands. In a word, if they couldn't withstand his arrows, being of a higher realm was of no use. Blood martial artists did not possess the characteristic of having a body resistant to blades. Nonsense. Wei Su had never seen a small flag with such impressive archery. Moreover, his master had warned that Xiang Tingchun was looking for trouble lately, and they must not provoke anyone in the army, or else no one would care if they died. He and his junior martial brother let him pass with trepidation, fearful of another arrow. Chun Sansi walked past them, fair and square. He was no longer afraid. In the rich depths of Second Layer Mountain, he was not only able to come but also to make people from the martial arts hall bow their heads. This tiger hunt had improved his proficiency in 2 skills. Tracking and hiding, small achievement. Progress, 55/1000. Skill, archery, small achievement. Progress, 150/1000. However, his archery was improving more slowly than before. It had to do with the bow. Chun Sansi had previously made a special 2-stone bow, which, after his increase in martial arts prowess, felt too light to pull. Looks like I'll need to change my bow and arrows. For a bow stronger than 2 stones, I'll have to custom order it from the craftsman at the forge in the households. Then again, the bones of this big worm are clearly harder than the average fierce beast. Can they be used as material for a new bow? Thanks to Uncle Zhao Qiao, otherwise with such a big mountain, I would have had a tough time finding the tiger's hiding spot. He crossed the stream. Chun Sansi returned to the south side of Second Layer Mountain. Zhao Qiao, Wu De, and Zhuang Yi unexpectedly were all waiting for him here. After all, it was a tiger hunt, and they were worried. Another reason was the fear of the young man being targeted by the disciples of the martial arts academy. Even if something unexpected happened, they couldn't have helped much, but they still wanted to wait. Putting it bluntly, if an accident did occur, there would at least be someone to retrieve the body, ensuring that it wouldn't be left unclaimed. This was another reason hunters stuck together. It seemed they were overly concerned. "Brother Chun, you're really fierce." Zhuang Yi eyed the big worm's claws and fangs. The thought of it being alive was so daunting he didn't dare imagine. The hunting dog at their feet lay down submissively, not daring to take a deep breath. Wu Da's eyes almost popped out. Can a martial artist really kill a tiger? Sansi has truly made something of himself, not only defeating a tiger, but also seeming untouchable by others. Zhao Qiao laughed. Then let's make haste down the mountain. Chun Sansi looked at the others. In comparison, their catch seemed quite meager. They had only caught some pheasants and hares, nothing major. Chun Sansi suddenly stopped, placed the tiger on the ground, and spoke. "Uncle Zhao, I can't move it on my own. Can you all help me take it to the town? We'll stick to the rules as usual. Brother Chun, you were able to kill the big worm. You should be able to carry it, right?" Zhuang Yi said naively. "Shut up." Zhao Qiao glared at him. This fool didn't realize that Sansi was pretending to be unable because he saw they hadn't caught much. It was a way to offer them some copper coins under the guise of needing help. The group of 4 arrived in town. Upon appraisal, the big worm was indeed extraordinary. Although it wasn't considered an exotic beast, it wasn't a normal fierce beast either, and the price was accordingly higher. The tiger weighed a total of 700 catties and was valued at over 150 taels in total. However, Chun Sansi kept the tiger heart, gallbladder, skin, bones, and 50 catties of meat for himself, ultimately receiving 68 taels of silver. For the idiot animal, they got 1 tael of silver. The resources for blood-refining minor success are almost enough. Chapter 39 Custom Heavy Bow. All affairs taken care of, silver tucked into his belt. The sky had already begun to darken. Zhao Qiao and his 2 companions hurried back. That cult has been causing a lot of trouble recently. People are dying every day. Let's hurry home, Brother Shi. You be careful too. The Witch God sect. Chun Sansi felt it was strange. In theory, those people should be laying low in Pyong, so how dare they come out and make trouble? It was unclear when they would find them. With silver in hand, Chun Sansi arrived at the medicine shop, only to find it closed. Not just Yunhe medicine shop, but Cloud Crane medicine store was closed too. Am I too late? He wasn't in a hurry. Coming tomorrow would be the same. Upon rushing home, Gu Xinlan and Subin's wife, Sister Tong, were in the courtyard working on shoe pads. They shrieked in fear and trembled like flowers in the wind when they saw someone draped in a bloody tiger skin storm in. "Brother Shi." Gu Xinlan's heart pounded, and she said with disbelief, "You killed a big worm?" Chun Sansi awkwardly dropped his things and apologized to Sister Tong. "Sister-in-law, I didn't know you were here. It's fine, it's fine." Sister Tong, looking at the blood-soaked youth, didn't dare stay any longer and left in a flurry. "Brother Shi, really?" Once she recovered, Gu Xinlan came over to help unload. "Sister Tong is pregnant, you know? Blame me." Chun Sansi took off his armor. "Sister Lan, it's been hard on you. Cook the tiger heart and tiger meat together. As for the tiger skin, deal with it when you're free. Maybe make it into a blanket or something." It was deep autumn, and the days were getting colder. Tiger skin could be used for warmth. All right, you start by washing your face. Gu Xinlan turned and busied herself in the kitchen. One by one, dishes were brought to the table. Needless to say about the tiger heart and meat, there was beef, salted duck eggs, white rice, and on top of that, blood-replenishing soup made with medicinal herbs, a very rich meal. Chun Sansi bit into the tiger heart. Brother sure, maybe, eat less of that. Gu Xinlan urged hesitantly, biting her lip and blushing. Chun Sansi paused. He remembered, after eating bear heart last time, his chi blood was overly abundant, and he had given Sister Lan quite a tough time. It's okay. Chun Sansi continued to eat in large bites. I am not like before. I can control it now. Purchased alone, the tiger heart would cost at least 30 taels of silver or more, and that wasn't even a sure deal. After all, big worms weren't as common as rabbits that you find everywhere. Having gulped down a few bites of tiger heart meat, Chun Sansi's body began to heat up like fire, an effect even stronger than that of the bear heart. Besides, he also felt an overwhelming surge of aggression, as if he were that ferocious tiger, wanting to indulge in a bloodthirsty killing spree. Taking advantage of this vigor, Chun Sansi stuffed 2 mouthfuls of beef to sate his hunger and finished the simmering blood-replenishing soup before picking up the reed leaf gun and went into the courtyard to practice. In the depth of autumn, with many trees outside their home, dry leaves blown into the courtyard covered the ground. The long spear whistled, sweeping up the dried yellow leaves in the yard, as if thousands of butterflies were dancing gracefully around the youth. But these butterflies were exuding endless killing intent. They flew faster and faster, nearly turning into a tornado, as if they intended to shred everything that approached into dust. Intense killing intent, yet breathtakingly beautiful. Gu Xinlan watched, almost mesmerized. How many days had it been? Just over a month ago, they were still worrying about paying the taxes. Now, not only were they well-fed and clothed, but the man had also learned a great martial arts skill. It was like living a dream. One practicing martial arts, one watching. Unknowingly, the sun set and the twilight dimmed, with stars lighting up the night sky. Chun Sansi, drenched in sweat, finally stopped. Phew! He exhaled a long breath and planted the long spear under the plum tree in the courtyard. Cultivation technique. Basic spear technique. Proficient. Progress. 120/1000. Utility. Gun movement swift and fierce. Amazing endurance. Chi blood robust. This tiger meat truly is exceptionally effective. Tomorrow I'll buy more supplemental medicine. Within half a month, I must be able to break through to small achievement. Hiss. Even after practicing spear technique for several hours, Chun Sansi still felt the effect of the tiger heart meat and blood-replenishing soup continuing to work, making his blood boil, but his muscles did indeed need a short rest. Come, wipe your sweat. Gu Xinlan had already prepared a towel in advance, patiently and carefully wiping the young man's forehead. Hungry, right? What do you want to eat, eh? Her delicate wrist was suddenly grasped tightly. Brother sure, what are you doing? Doing? Chun Sansi directly picked up Sister Lan around the waist and headed straight for the bedroom. I told you already, don't eat so many beast hearts. The next day, when Chun Sansi arrived at the military camp entrance, he just happened to encounter a troop of people returning covered in dust. Riding at the front was Luo Dongquan. In the middle of the troop, a cage held a man. The man wore the clothes of the Shang dynasty's commoners, but his appearance still seemed somewhat out of place, creating a sense of dissonance. Luo Dongquan glanced at him without saying a word and led the troop into the military camp. Householder Xiong. Chun Sansi found Householder Xiong at the end of the troop. This person, could it be? Yes, he's from the witch god sect. Householder Xiong cursed and said, this kid has got guts and audacity. We're hunting them throughout the city, and he still dared to run off to the spring pavilion to seek out the ladies. He's got that much nerve? Chun Sansi asked. Of course, Householder Xiong said. If it weren't for me being next door trying to compete for Miss Ruyen, who would have thought? A truly under-the-lamp darkness. Chen Sansi didn't care about this. What he cared about was the immortal treasure. Have all the people from the witch god sect been caught? Not all of them. Householder Xiong touched his nose. But it'll be soon. We've caught one. Aren't we afraid we won't make him reveal where the rest are hiding? It'll only take a few more days. Chen Sansi sighed with relief. The affair wasn't over, which meant the immortal treasure key hadn't been found, and there was still a chance. Of course, he would act according to circumstances and wouldn't risk his life for it. After all, he held the box in his hands. He just needed to know whose hands the key fell into, and then he could plan slowly. Watching the troop enter the military camp, Chen Sansi also busied with his own matters. He went to the forge and stated his needs. The person in charge, a bare-chested middle-aged man named Nyogai, had spectacularly developed muscles. Stopping his work, he wiped the sweat off his head with a torn cloth. "What weight of bow do you want?" 10 stone. Chen Sansi had only a few pieces of the tougher parts of the tiger bone left. Tiger bone. Nyogai picked up the skull to feel it. Replacing cow horn? Hardwood to make the bow is good, but to make the bow's body, it's slightly lacking in resilience. I suggest you use purple gold bamboo that's over 50 years old. Even with that, it's hard to make a 10-stone bow, at most 6 or 7 stone. 6 or 7 stone? Chen Sansi asked. How can a 10-stone bow be made? He still hoped to make a heavy bow that would be effective for training so he wouldn't have to keep changing bows and arrows. Nyogai explained, generally, bowstrings are made from cow horn and cow tendon, with limited upper bounds. Even if you force a 10-stone pull-strength bow, the practical utility would be very poor. Tiger tendon won't work either, unless it's from an exotic beast of the bovine species, or an even better exotic beast. What about deer? Chen Sansi paused. I meant an exotic beast white deer. Deer tendon is flexible, and exotic beasts are especially so. Certainly it can be done. Nyogai said, if you can really find an exotic beast of the deer species, I can definitely make you a bow that surpasses 10 stone. Chapter 40. Encircling and Capturing the Witch God Sect. However, it's agreed that you will cover the cost of the materials yourself. Nyogai, counting on his fingers, said, 50-year-old purple gold bamboo, plus other rare materials, will cost at least 50 taels. How much? Chen Sansi gasped in shock. Did you think mutant purple gold bamboo was easy to find? Nyogai bluntly stated, actually, if you ask me, a 6 or 7 stone bow would suffice. If there's really a war and you have a crossbow cart, why bother? Keep the tiger bone here for now. Chen Sansi didn't plan to change his decision. When I get the exotic beast tendon, you can make the bow. It looked like he really needed to find a way to get that white deer. Exotic beasts were rare and costly. Acquiring the white deer would ensure he wouldn't lack the 50 taels for materials. After parting with the craftsman, Chen Sansi returned to the barracks. After morning drills ended, he would routinely patrol the city in the afternoon. During a break, he went to buy medicinal materials, only to discover that the Yunhe medicine store sign was dismantled and replaced with Yunhe. Was this because the young master was completely devoured by his uncle, or what was happening? Sir, you weren't here yesterday and are unaware. Flocking to the commotion, Su Wenkai saw his confusion. The young master of Yunhe Martial Arts Hall recently advanced to the bone training realm, and last night he ambushed and killed his uncle, reclaiming his family property. Advanced. In Chen Sansi's memory, wasn't it said that the young master of Yunhe had mediocre talent and might be stuck in the bone training realm for life? How much time has passed since his uncle usurped the family property, and now suddenly he's advanced? Was he concealing his skills all along, or was there another explanation? Luckily, Yunhe Medicine Store resumed normal operations and didn't raise the prices despite successfully reclaiming his family property. It still maintained an 80% discount. 2 preparations of the replenishing essence soup. 2 paper packages tied with rope were handed over, costing 50 taels of silver. The silver he had earned from the tiger wasn't even warm yet, and most of it had already been spent. Training in the martial arts hall was indeed extortionate, But after all, it was an investment in himself. He couldn't be stingy. After buying the medicine, it was also time to switch shifts and return to camp. Mr.
Su.
Chun Sansi found the old scholar. Do you have books that record exotic and rare beasts? Yes. Su Wenkai hurriedly searched for the book. His wooden bed wasn't large, with more than half covered in books, leaving just a small space for sleeping. Su Wenkai didn't even search. He precisely and accurately pulled out a book, specifically the one documenting exotic and rare beasts. The book I took before, I haven't finished yet. I'll return it to you together later. Chun Sansi expressed his thanks. Thank you, sir. Why so formal, sir? If you want to read a book, just come and take it. Su Wenkai was considerably diligent. Chun Sansi knew this guy was afraid of being deemed useless and kicked out. Recently, he'd been calling him sir very affectionately, to the point where it couldn't be stopped, though there was actually no need for it. He took the book home, and while waiting for the meal to be prepared, he started flipping through it. The book, titled Journey Through Mountains and Rivers, was written over 1,000 years ago by a traveler who loved exploring mountains and rivers, recording his experiences. Further east 300 li, called Standing Mountain, abundant in water, devoid of trees or grass, there lives a fish, its form resembling a cow, possessing. The method of recording content in the book was similar to the classic of Mountains and Seas, which Chun Sansi had read before, and even some of the creatures were the same. Further west 300 li, at Xian Mountain, it abounds with chiming snakes, resembling snakes but with 4 wings, emitting sounds like clanging. Citing these predicts a severe drought in that region. It's all silver. Chun Sansi was engrossed as he read. He flipped a few more pages and finally saw what he was looking for. Further south 100 li, called Hu Mountain. Therein lives a white deer with 4 horns on its head, ears that hear in all directions, feeds on treasure fungus, its meat slightly sour, greatly nourishing. White deer. It looked like the Hu Mountain range really did have one. First, I'll enhance my cultivation, and when I reach small success in blood refining, I'll head to the mountains in search of the white deer. Chun Sansi closed the book. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye it was October. The weather in the Northern Territory was growing increasingly cold. For 10 consecutive days, Chun Sansi continued to perform his routine diligently. Martial arts practice, eating, patrolling the city. Regarding the witch god sect, it was said that the captive was very stubborn. After being tortured for 7 consecutive days without confessing a single word, he found an opportunity to bite off his tongue and committed suicide. Thus, the lead was broken, and the search of the city continued. Chun Sansi, however, was not in a hurry. The later the things arrived, the more advantageous it was for him. At the martial arts arena, having just consumed a bowl of replenishing essence soup, Chun Sansi felt every pore in his body heating up. The effect of the replenishing essence soup was twice that of blood replenishing soup. He cupped his fists and said, "Su Flag Officer, today I would like to trouble you to exert your full strength." Full strength. Holding a saber, Su Bin was momentarily stunned. "Are you sure?" "Sure." Chun Sansi nodded. At the same cultivation level, the opponent had long been unable to put any pressure on him. Good. Su Bin did not refuse. He had wanted to give his all for a while. Not because he wanted to win, but because, with the same chi blood, this youngster was too terrifying. In front of the young man, he was like a training dummy, posing no threat at all, relying solely on years of saber technique to avoid utter embarrassment. "Watch the saber!" Su Bin shouted loudly as his small success-level chi blood suddenly erupted, charging forward and slashing down with a saber, as if a wild wolf was descending from the sky. Chun Sansi also went all out, with 2 streams of chi blood condensing on his arms, turning his Lu Yi long spear into a blur of shadows. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of metal clashing. Su Bin was astonished to find, even with his full strength, he could no longer suppress the young man. The opponent's blood-refining mastery, in terms of pure strength, was not inferior to his, not to mention endurance. Within 10 exchanges, Subin's hand that held the saber went numb. His vision blurred, and he began unable to predict from which direction the opponent's long spear would thrust. His lower stance becoming increasingly unstable and chaotic, until he finally fell to the ground. "Stop, stop, stop. No more fighting," he hurriedly shouted. Clang! Chun Sansi withdrew his spear and stepped forward to help him up. "Much obliged, Brother Bin." Majestic breathing skill, advantage of long weapons, gun movement swift, strong chi blood. One advantage after another stacked up. He could indeed easily win against blood-refining minor success. Are you about to reach small success?" Subin noticed something was amiss. "How many days has it been?" "Maybe I've taken a lot of supplemental medicine." Chun Sansi looked at the panel. Cultivation technique. Basics of spear technique. Mastery. Progress. 910/1000. Utility. Gun movement swift. Amazing endurance. Strong chi blood. As he predicted, he would break through to small success within half a month. The silver totaling over several dozen taels was indeed not spent in vain. "I cannot accompany you in training anymore." Subin wiped the cold sweat away. This was too terrifying. It wasn't a matter of supplemental medicine at all. If it were him, no matter how much supplemental medicine he took, he couldn't possibly improve at this pace. Instead, he might even get poisoned. This youngster could very well become a refining organ martial artist, or even higher in his lifetime. "Brother Bin, you've worked hard. I'll treat you to a drink tonight." Chun Sansi knew well that sparring was not an easy task. "Done." Subin did not refuse. "Buzz." Just as the two were preparing to leave, the assembly call sounded unexpectedly. An order officer, riding a fast horse, sprinted between the military camp and the garrison. His voice loud and clear. 300 garrison soldiers. Assemble. Traces of the witch god sect discovered in Payong County City. Assemble to encircle and suppress. Assemble to encircle and suppress.